Hey everyone, and welcome to our latest community discussion stream. This week we're joined by Cheese and Neon, who have been on before, as well as Livo, who first time guest. As usual, let's just go around the room and give a brief introduction. I'm just looking at my screen, so we'll go clockwise around here. So Cheese, we'll start with you. The questions I have this week are just how long have you been playing Gears? You can give a brief introduction of who you are as well, and then what modes do you typically play, or what are you playing right now?
So, as you know, I'm CheeseCutta. I've been on here before a few times. I've been playing Gears since the original 2006. Played every single entry. Mostly in Gears 5, I play PvE and mostly center on Horde. And in Operation 5, I have really played Horde probably, I say, about 90% of the time. And I dabble in a little PvP, mostly King of the Hill with 2v2 Nashers and Escape, but I'd say most of my time is centered around Horde.
Yeah. Neon, I got you up next.
All right. So Neon Velocity, you can find me on Twitch and then on YouTube, but mainly what I've been doing over the past couple of weeks is a lot of Twitch over the YouTube content. I've been on the stream multiple times, but it's always a pleasure to be on. Most importantly, in terms of Operation 5, my playtime has been a little bit of diversification. I've been mainly on a lot of free-for-all gameplay and ranked, and then I did some PvE a few nights ago and a little bit of Escape, but I'm a little bit all over the board. I don't try to silo myself into one, but the community knows me as the PvE guy, so there I am.
I'm glad that you took that torch from me. Because
Yeah.
I hated being known as the PvE guy.
That's one thing I'll never get.
Yeah. So, Livo, welcome to the stream. First time on. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Livo, or Paul. I actually didn't start at the very beginning. I began in 2009. 2013, I joined montage teams, and I did that for a few years. Dabbled in game battles a little bit. That was actually really a lot of fun. I found myself, at the start of Gears 4, though, I moved away from that side of it and started to admin a Facebook group of like 20,000 people, which gave me a good insight of more the casual side of Gears. So that's what I spend my time now. In terms of actually on the game, I tend to just play free for all and 2Vs now. But if I'm with people, then yeah, I'll jump into TD or Koth.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for joining, and thanks to anyone who is watching this video. Let's go ahead and hop into our discussion, which today is all about Operation 5, which just launched, on Tuesday this past week?
Yep.
So I guess before we get to the actual operation, let's talk the lead up to the operation, the marketing. I think most of us who have talked before said we disagreed with the coalition's approach on Operation 4 marketing. Operation 5 was slightly different. Just let's start with gut feeling. Did you guys have any gut feeling about, was this a good or bad marketing strategy?
I think, although people say we could have had a bit of information like a trailer sooner, I think that was more because the community in general were a little bit fed up of how long Operation 4 was going on for. So I think we were more just impatient. In terms of the trailer itself, I don't see any problem with that because if you look at other games, they don't necessarily do things TC do. As a community, we demand so much from TC, and I think they're delivering now. So personally, I think they did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna want stuff sooner. Like, even if Operation 4 wasn't super long, everyone wants a trailer as soon as possible, or they want that tease as soon as possible. So, yeah, it's not surprising that people wanted stuff sooner.
I think it's...
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Continue your thought.
I was going to say, think back to last season, they left it pretty much, 20 minutes before the update? But they were saying that they didn't want people to see the update or the trailer and then get bored waiting for that actual content to come out. I think they've actually found that balance pretty well with Operation 5, personally.
Yeah. Go ahead, Neon.
No, I was just going to say, just because of the way... I actually see it in a little bit of a different light. I was on the stream when we had Dana and Michael Shannon, and we were able to talk a little bit more with the community in terms of development and the development team, and kind of the inner workings and provide some of our feedback, whether it was here on stream or offline. And one of the things that I said then was there was absolutely no reason to do multiple developer streams leading up to the Operation 4 release. And then provide really no content except, oh, we just can't talk about it, can't talk about it. That was just kind of awkward. And leading into Operation 5, I do believe they learned from that mistake, because everybody was like, dude, this sucks. This is terrible. No one really knew what was coming other than the patch notes, which were released the day before. And then the trailer leaked early that morning before Microsoft or even the coalition could put something out. So that was just a really bad look. In Operation 5, I think that they did a much better job of trying to present themselves. I like the way that they rolled out each day a separate tuning, like in terms of PvE, then PvP, and then just like general overall changes. And then the patch notes, which again, that was an epic fail on their behalf. They leaked their own content more or less. And it just seems there's still a little bit of dysfunction, or maybe there's just still too much like miscommunication internally, whether that's because of they're not in office and because of COVID or whatever it may be. But overall, they did a much better job than Operation 4. But like everybody said, we want content. We want it as soon as we can. But we've also come to learn over the last 14 or so months that we expect drip feed content. And I don't think that drip feed content should kind of lead into like how the news is released, because you should be able to give the community something to like want to like chew on for a little bit. I feel like games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex Legends, those type of games that are service style games, they make you want to like, okay, we kind of know something's coming, and here's a little teaser, go figure it out, and then they'll drop whatever it is.
Yeah, that's kind of, Dana teased the Scourge thing, or was it Dana or the Gears of War channel teased the Scourge thing? But it was like
the Scourge thing.
But it was an in your face, hey, Scourge is coming, basically.
Yeah, They did something with Dizzy as well, or something like that. They did a good job kind of leading into it. That was a great, like, okay, here's something.
I will say it was harder for them this time because they had the Series X launch, which they couldn't overshadow that, and then the Tactics launch stuff, which they couldn't overshadow. They also had all the campaign update type things that were coming in early. Like, there was a lot going on in that time frame, so they really did have to delay a lot of it until after that before they could really push on Operation 5. But I felt like they did a pretty good job after all of that had passed and it was time for them to start going on Operation 5. I thought they did a pretty good job this time.
Yeah, I feel they balanced that really well, going on the campaign updates and then having the week they talked about tactics and on the Series X and all that stuff, and then they sent out the tweet showing this is Operation 5 Holostorm, showed the Dizzy and Scourge confirming that. They teased everything, had the PvE stream, had the PvP stream, actually teased stuff over the weekend, just had these little tidbits. My only thing was I still feel like they're backwards with releasing the patch notes on Monday and then releasing the What's Up that details everything on Tuesday. I feel like they should release the What's Up Monday, release the patch notes while the game's under maintenance. But that's the only thing I have a complaint about.
Yeah, and I think we've covered most of the marketing things. The one last thing on marketing that I wanted to hit on at least was the trailer that we got it was a pretty good trailer and people could break it down and found a lot of cool stuff. But it was yet again another trailer that had issues in it where we saw the Mark II Lancer.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think one of them we saw the like Gears 4 Lancer with the buttstock on, or the custom Lancer thing.
Yep.
And it's stuff like that that's making it into their official trailers. That it's kind of unfortunate.
You just don't feel like sometimes, like, you know, we've been seeing the Scorcher icon pop up, for your example, and Escape and things of that nature, and you're like, oh, okay, that's not coming. But then it ends up happening. Maybe one day, maybe. I don't know. Customization, who knows? Maybe in the future Operation or something. You hope.
Yeah. Was there anything else on marketing that you guys wanted to talk about?
That's probably something I pay attention to be completely honest.
Yeah, I just want to say that what Cheese said was absolutely a good point. I think that what we do as fans is we know that the patch notes are coming out the day before, and we're just F5ing all day long to try to get whatever information. and then that information inside the patch notes was actually very limited information. I do think that maybe they should just push it on the time where maintenance is happening and have it as a scheduled post. But I would assume that they probably don't do that because the maintenance time is when they're usually asleep, most likely, or not in office. So maybe that's why. But just carefully proofread what you're posting to the coalition. That's all I ask.
I do have a question, stroke point, and I don't know if it ties in with marketing. It probably doesn't tie with marketing, but I don't know how many of you've seen this. Thinking about content that may or may not be in the game, or
You're talking about all the leaks?
No, to be honest, kind of, but no. Think about what could or could not be in the game, and then you say that they're using things from other games in their trailers. I don't know if you've seen it, but a lot of people have been disconnected from a match and then got a XP screen with in the background. It was Impact Dark or Impact Night or something like that. That's not something that's in the game. Where's that coming from if it's not in the game?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that one either. That's interesting.
But
it's not marketing. I just thought I'd throw it in there.
Yeah, and that's another thing is this operation has been yet another operation that has launched with broken metals and just bugs with the way that you interact with things, and it's really unfortunate that we have stuff like that, which kind of goes into the next thing, which was the tour of duty and metals and the store. So I just brought up the metals thing. So, well, we have some metals that aren't tracking at all, some metals that are not tracking properly, and we have some metals that are for gridiron in ranked or gridiron in quick match, and there's no gridiron. And it's really, really odd that we're having these types of polish issues this far into the game.
It does make you wonder how that was tested. It can't have been.
No.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Some of them that aren't tracking properly or that seem like they might have the wrong description or they're not tracking at all, I don't know how those possibly could have gotten in. The gridiron ones, I'm wondering if they removed gridiron really late in the operation and whoever's in charge of the operation didn't say, oh, hey, we need to go remove these metals or change these or something. That's all I can think of.
It just seems like with the metals they kind of recycle them, but when I was looking through these on the release day, that they did change a lot of the names and the criteria. So perhaps in terms of the ranked one, it was just like a placeholder one for something else, and then like you said, last minute they decided, well, ranked actually isn't doing that well. We're going to cancel it, and I use the word cancel. I shouldn't use that. We're going to remove it from the ranked playlist to consolidate the playlist so there's more ranked. There's 4 ranked modes. Go get in there and play the 4 ranked modes and figure it out. And gridiron will probably be something that they keep tweaking in the background. So I just don't think that metal should. I hope in the title update they just yank it out. No reason for it to be there. Were you going to ask though about kind of what our feelings were on how the tour of duty was? Is that where you were leading?
Yeah. So right now it was store content, tour of duty, and metals. So right now we're kind of on the tour of duty stuff. So what do you think of the tour of duty as a whole?
Cheese, go. You haven't said much. Go.
It's kind of what I expected, honestly. They really just did the same thing with Operation 4, where it's mostly coins, and there's a few neat little skins. I am glad they had Judgment Barrett in it. I will say that was great. I've been rocking that since I've unlocked it, and some of the weapon skins are kind of cool, but I'm a little disappointed that it's pretty much the same thing as Operation 4
in terms of it being mostly coins.
Yeah, just to me, just because I got 130,000 coins, yeah, I got a ton when the rank rewards came out. I'm getting a ton through Horde and Escape and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm a little disappointed it's the same thing, but at the same time, I kind of expected it because that means that they're gonna cycle stuff in and out of the store every single week. So
it's kind of interesting that you say that because I'm the same way where I would have preferred to see less coins. Mainly for the metal groups, I would have preferred to see less coins. But in the last stream that I hosted, I think it was everybody on said that they actually preferred having the coins. One, because they could choose what they wanted to get, and the other reason was a lot of them were PvE players who wanted to spend the coins on cards.
Well, see, and that was going to be a point when we get to PvE is that, yeah, you spend the coins on cards, but you don't know if it's going to get nerfed or not later and be worthless. And then you just drop 20, 30, 50,000 coins on something that, hey, I can't use anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got the complete outsider perspective of this. Personally, I hate the Tour of Duty in itself. I feel like the game has way too many characters already, way too many skins already. I feel like the game launched without enough in it, and it was like a year late. What we have now, it's got plenty of content, probably too much. But personally, I prefer the Gears 3 way of the way the stats and medals tracked in that, and you had a really long grind to go and get X character or X skin. And then when you unlocked that skin, it was unique. And if somebody looked at that, it's like, oh, wow, that guy's gone and done whatever. Then Gears 4, they released the RNG pack, and I hated that. And so did everyone with all the transactions and stuff. So they tried to move away from that while still adding content. And I don't know. I think they've done a good job of getting away from the RNG and the paid transactions. But I just don't. So the Tour of Duty for me now, it feels way too easy to earn anything, all your stars. So it's like, what, go into a match, get 3 Lancer kills. That who cares about someone earning something from doing that? But if it was like, go and complete the game, solo inconceivable, get this skin, that's a challenge. And if somebody gets that, in my opinion, is worth more.
Yeah, and I've been pushing them to do those skill-based challenges for a really long time now. And I agree, the tour is very easy, and most of the stuff to get in the store for the person who plays most days a week, you can get basically everything you want. They did introduce the heroic rarity for Operation 5, which... So, at first I thought it was going to be all stuff that you just earn sort of the Gears 3 style. It's complete this tasking, get this skin. In the latest developer stream, Dana did say something that made it sound like maybe some of them will be available for coins, but it sounded like it's probably going to be a lot of like 100,000 coins, maybe. I don't know, something ridiculous.
Probably, yeah.
Well, so one thing that I would propose before we go off the tour exactly is basically that, you know, we as a collective, you here, yourself, Chaps, myself, and then Embry Star, we were all saying, give us something to chase. Give us something to chase. I do feel like the tour of duty is more for your I don't want to use the word casual, but your everyday player, like you said, that's logging in every day. And these are the rewards to make someone want to log in every day. I would say that most of the content inside the tour of duty through your progression, I don't really care for. The only things that even stood out to me were the Lambent Rom and then the Kilo Squad Baird. And I think we got Beast Rider or something like that.
Yeah,
and
I think
so
Gears 2 Tie is in there as well.
Oh yeah, Gears 2 Tie, that's right.
It's basically
and one expression, I think, which is the Cantus scream, or so, I believe that's right. What lacks there is, I know deep down there's tons of character skins already made and ready to go. We know, we've seen that before. We've also seen the leak notes. I don't know why they're not injecting just a few of those in there, or maybe they plan to, and we just haven't seen it yet through their mid-cycle like challenges. But what I propose, and something that I would like to see a lot more of, is in games such as Call of Duty, again, Fortnite, Apex Legends, and a few of those, is you basically have weekly and monthly challenges where you're grinding hardcore to go get said rewards. And I believe that might be something that would be a little bit more appealing. I know that they do that a little bit, but they make it more centric on complete 20 waves of Horde. Well, anybody can log in and do something like that and go get Murder Pool Lizzie. You know what I mean? Like, that's not really a chase. That's a cool reward, but it's not a chase. I feel like they should expand on something like that and say, complete all your weekly challenges, complete your monthly challenges, and then get this reward. I would like to see them kind of move into something a little bit more like that for those highly popular rewards, such as Kilo Squad Baird. Everybody wanted that, or the most people. Maybe they should do some tweaking there.
Yeah,
I'll leave the
I was gonna say, keep the tour for the casual or more casual or everyday player, but then they need that next level, which is, I mean, it could be the heroic stuff. We just haven't seen the way that they've implemented.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. I don't want to touch on heroic because I do feel like that's more PvE stuff and centric. But yes, something of that nature.
They did say
make it something like that.
They did seem to indicate that the heroic stuff might be for other things as well. Like there might be some PvP heroic type stuff or general game heroic type stuff, which I would love to see.
As much as I don't play PvE, the heroic stuff that we can see the challenges for it, that's exactly what I mean, and that's the sort of thing they need to push more, because when you earn that, it actually feels like an accomplishment rather than, oh, I've gone under that for 20 minutes and now I've got it. That's what I mean.
And I would say the ones that we've seen so far are a good start, but they are just sort of a grind, and anyone can do it if they just play that character enough. It's a good start because it is a good accomplishment to hit level 20 with the character, or with a class. But I would like to see some heroic skins tied to one-time challenges. Complete, like, Livo, I think it was you said Iron Man, or maybe not Iron Man, but Inconceivable Solo campaign or something. Yeah. Like, something that is difficult to do, but you only do it one time.
Absolutely.
And those are the types of challenges that I feel we're really missing right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the heroic skins in PvE, they're cool, but yeah, like you said, just all it is just getting to level 20. They should have it where master all maps on Horde or something like that. Do it a certain way, maybe all of assault class or all sport class. Do it with 5 jacks, and you get a heroic jack skin or something. Like have these neat little challenges, like you said, you complete one time, and you get the B skin, like versus just putting in a ridiculous amount of time to get it.
Gears 4 implemented a couple of those at the end of life, like the Do You Even Lift one, where it was all soldiers on lift, or the No Fabricator use type thing. And those were good challenges. I would have liked to see rewards tied to those.
I'd like to add there, I think they do see that that's something that would be cool for the community, but I think that's partly where the community is to blame as well. Because the community, if they don't like doing one aspect of the game or one way of playing, they still expect to be able to earn the same reward as somebody who does. So that makes the reward, again, meaningless, because there's so many different ways to go and get it. And the person that's done it the way that it was initially intended, they've done it the quote hard way, and somebody else is looking for an easier way or a different way to get the same reward. And in the end of that, there's no point getting the reward whatsoever. It's got no value.
Yeah, you do have the community who there's a lot of people out there who believe everybody should be able to get everything.
Yeah.
And if they make a horde-specific challenge, that's not fair to me because I play PvP. Or that's not fair because that's too hard to get, and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that's the mindset the community completely needs to lose, in my opinion. Because if you don't want to play that part of the game, then okay, don't play that part of the game, but you don't get the reward for it. It's as simple as that.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's what TC has done. I want to go back on that for a second. Is basically, they try to cater to every single person, and we've seen this with 4, and we definitely see it with 5. Is they try to cater to new and old legacy players that may be returning. I don't think that's the correct approach at all. They just need to basically say, all right, we know new people are here. You're either going to learn the game and you're going to learn one element of the game, or you're going to learn both and you're going to enjoy the game like everybody else does. But just go go play that game mode. But if you don't want that, if you believe in your head or in your heart that skin or whatever that reward is something that you truly want, you're going to go sink the time in to get it regardless. It should not just be easily accessible just because, we wanted to make sure every single demographic of the game is happy. Yeah, that's just what I mean. That's just not reasonable. Other games are not doing that. Why do you guys feel the need to be so catering to every single person, whether they're new or returning? Make people want to enjoy your game. The game is marketed to be a long-term game. That's why we have operations. So why are you trying to make content easily obtainable? And I'm not saying don't make it where I can't get anything. I'm just saying make it to where there are specific challenges that you have to complete, like I said, with the weekly, monthly, whatever it might be, to go get that and go play PvE. You may hate it. You may end up loving the game more than you did. You just don't know. You haven't tried it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Let's hit on the store briefly. So the store doesn't seem to have changed from Operation 4. Other than, I guess, the big thing is this first week or so, the new characters for the operation are iron only. They will be available for coins shortly, like maybe next week, maybe the week after. I don't know. Let's start with that. So, how do you guys feel about the operation launching with the characters as iron only?
I know people were in an uproar about that, but after listening to the dev stream and hearing Dana's explanation, I get it. I mean, at the end of the day,
It's a business; they need to make money.
yeah, they're trying to generate a little bit of revenue, and come on, they're going to be available in the store. I know people waited for Dizzy. I don't know why you would wait for Ty, but there are a few that would waited for Ty, and they want to play as him. I get that, and you see that he's coming in Op5, and you load it up Tuesday, and you can't buy him. So, but it'll happen. You can still get him eventually. But after hearing Dana's explanation, I understood it.
I've got mixed feelings on it. Personally, I really rarely buy anything from the store. I bought Baird and that was it. But we've heard all along that microtransactions are to fund future content. If the microtransactions that people have just paid for over the past year are paying for this content that's now coming to the store, then why have they got to pay for it again? Or if that is to pay for a different future content, then where is it? I know we're getting a single player campaign, but are you telling me that Gears 4 and Gears 5's worth of microtransactions up to this point is funding that one DLC for campaign? Not a chance.
Well, so for that campaign DLC, my guess is that's going to be a paid expansion. I don't know, but I'm guessing that's going to be a paid.
If it follows the
That could
steps
be
of Halo,
worse.
it will be. If it follows what Halo Wars 2 did, and I know we're getting a little off the topic of the games here, but Halo Wars 2, after a year or so after launch, they put out like Awakening the Nightmare or something like that, and it was $19.99, and it was just in a store DLC. That's exactly what I expect that our expectations should be for Hypebuster content.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think though. Okay, we've just had maps drop, and yes, they are very good. I'm not going to lie, but in my opinion, this game launched with nothing in it whatsoever. So the maps we've got now, that should have been in at launch, or that level of content in terms of maps should have been at launch. So if again, I go back to what I've just been saying, if we've just been paying, or people, not me, if people have been paying X amount of money on microtransactions for future content, what is that future content? Where is it? When do we see it? What's it been paying for?
But so they are a business. They need to make money. So
I agree.
So I don't have an issue with them making the characters paid to start with, and the future content that we'll see are maybe like mid-operation drops or Operation 6, or even the cost to keep the servers running. But I think the biggest issue people are having is we had this big downtime. We had, what was it, 4 months or something? With or I guess they did have a mid-season drop, so it was about 2 months with no real new characters. They had new skins and stuff, but no real new characters. And there's some characters people wanted for a really long time, and then the coalition teased like, oh, they're coming, and then it drops, and people are just disappointed that they have to buy them, and they're not free. And I think that's where the disappointment is coming from, is they've been waiting so long for these things, and then they've been waiting so long since any new content has been in the game, and then, oh, you have to pay money. I don't think it's an issue, being they're going to cost coins very soon, but I can definitely see why people are upset.
So to expand on what you were saying, there is something else we have to take into consideration is when the game first launched, when you were to obtain a character, you had to go grind. You had to go get like 60,000 experience. You had to go complete certain challenges, get a certain amount of headshots with said weapon. There was some of the things that we were talking about just a minute ago implemented into the game, but the community was like, but I don't want to do that to go get that character. And that was a free way to get the character, and there was fast and effective ways to get said character. And so when Operation 4 dropped, what they do? They actually, no, I'm sorry, before Operation 4 dropped, they reduced the requirements to just XP. Then Operation 4 dropped and said, okay, that's not working. People are still upset. Or the overwhelming majority of people are still upset. So you know what? We're just going to revamp the store. We're going to put them in the store. We're going to potentially put some of them in the tour duty. You can unlock the character that way. Or you can buy the skin, like you said, for Iron a week before or 2 weeks before they actually release into the Gears coin store section of it, or however you want to word that. again, there's too much flipping going around because we're trying to cater to the community. But one other thing that we have an issue with is Gears of War is a 14-year-old game or franchise at this point. So if you don't give characters for free that we've already had for free, and what I mean by that is we're not a new IP. You can't just be like, oh, new character coming out in like games like Rogue Company, go pay for it. You can't do that anymore in this franchise. This franchise was way too established. It has to be new content, like, the new blood coming through that should be the paid ones if you're going to fund the game. But I mean, they got to make money, and I think they made a lot of money at the very beginning when this whole thing was started. When the first 6 months or so, I guarantee they made too much money because the store after 2 months was already like $3,000 of content.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you, because this is something I don't really talk to people about, but just a quick thought. Let's think back to the old Xbox 360 days now, but then apply it to Gears 5. Had the game launched with the main characters from the game and perhaps legacy characters from other games to keep fans happy, do you believe that the game needed extra characters? Because that way, in my opinion, they could have just focused purely on making maps, because the game, in my opinion, doesn't need more and more characters, because you don't recognize half of them. Like, who are they?
I mean, so there's a large group of fans who do really care about the characters, and I think a big thing is that over the years we've had so many games that have introduced new characters, and in each game new fans have found, hey, this is my character, I love this character, and they want to see that return. And the other thing I'll add to that is it's a different group it's all going to cost money, but it's a different group in the company that makes maps versus characters. Yeah, maybe they could have invested more money into maps and less into characters, but I do feel that characters are important.
Yeah, but then we get those WWE characters, the New Day, what was that, Friday or whatever. That's the thing for me, and I'm not saying anything. There are people that like those characters. That's cool, but you still have some characters that aren't released in the game, and then you release, WWE characters. I get it's a promotional deal. I get it, but it's just seems like a waste of resources to me. That's just to me personally.
I'll say that I do like the fact that they continue to put out new character skins and new characters to play as, because I do like to play as said characters, Dizzy and Ty. I do like their backgrounds. I like them from Gears 2. It also kind of gives me the flashbacks of, hey, here's 2008, 2009 again for you, which was a great time of gaming in my opinion. And it kind of just gives me the little bit of that nostalgic feel of like, okay, I'm kind of going back, especially with a map like Nexus. But something that like people tend to forget is that if you didn't play PvE, and I know I'm not saying you or anybody in this, but just something to think about is like, if you didn't play PvE, the tile system was just a waste of time. And so they truly probably believed that they were going to have a map builder for us, that it was going to be community evolution over time, similar to like Forge, and it just never materialized into what maybe they were expecting. I don't know that to be true, but if you look at what's happened over the time, and they basically killed the tile system. So now that tile system is scrapped, because I'm sure that took a lot of time and resources to come up with some unique concepts. And we did get one new tile in Operation 5 on War Room, that big projector screen area. But you got to, like, when they canceled the development of that, now they're going to start flooding in a whole lot of maps. And I highly suspect there's going to be a mid-operation map pack along with whatever else drops. I have a strong suspicion that something like that will happen. I don't see why it wouldn't happen. We're 8-9 months removed since the summit now. A lot of that stuff is probably moving a lot of like fast forward very quickly. And the fact that we got 2 maps and then three new maps, 2 maps,
3 new maps,
and two
brand new maps, 1 Gears 2 map, and then 2 ports.
Yeah, there you go. And so that's 5 right there. And I was very surprised by War Room. I think that they got a lot of good stuff coming, but again, in terms of the promotional stuff with WWE is anybody that thinks that wasn't scheduled
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah.
you're oblivious. Okay, we knew about Bautista like literally like 2 minutes after the Gears 5 were released. I mean, it was earnable right then and there. This was something that was definitely planned and executed for well over a year. Especially the fact that Gears 5 was plastered. And I don't watch wrestling. Okay, I did that stuff back when I was younger. I don't do it now. But that stuff was plastered all over the most recent pay-per-view or one of the most recent pay-per-views about like sponsored by Gears 5. This is something that was just truly promotional content that's been going on for well over a year. There's no way that they had these guys release these, like record 700 voice lines according to the press release, have these character skins ready to go. Like this stuff was well in development. So I get it. Like, oh, why are you prioritizing something like this over legacy characters? But I don't think it probably took that much effort, except voice lines recording.
My issue with those sorts of things, it's not the fact that maybe they took priority over, I don't know, a legacy character. It's the fact they exist. Like, why does Gears need... I'm serious. Why does Gears need a Terminator, Sarah Connor? Why does Gears need Halo skins?
No,
why have we
that's
got
my issue
wrestlers
too.
going around like rainbows? What is going on?
It goes. I would say that it goes back, and I can't say this with 100% confidence, but if I was the man to bet on something, I would bet that they're just trying to lure in new markets.
Yeah.
There's probably market research somewhere that the coalition has or that Microsoft has, and they say if you play Gears, you are most likely to watch WWE, or you are most likely to watch Terminator horror style films or gory movies and things like that. So who can we partner with? And I think that's what it is.
I want to talk about different players later, but the flip side of it, though, that you wouldn't expect to buy the next Halo when that comes out and see Sarah Connor run past.
I hope you don't.
You know what I mean?
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. However, I caveat, there's been some things like that in Call of Duty where they've gone and hired males and females to do some big promotional stuff and then end up being store content.
Yeah, and I wonder if when you look at Halo versus Gears, I wonder if it's because Gears is struggling a lot more than Halo is in terms of getting the players and stuff.
Gears will struggle to get the players because of the way that the game plays. Halo will always just be bigger because it's Halo and the way that it plays as well.
But I'm saying that's why Halo doesn't need to have the cross promotions to try and bring in new players.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
They don't.
And it's unfortunate that Gears feels the need to do that. But in all honesty, they probably do need to do that. I hate it, but...
Yeah. I mean, I get it from that standpoint, and Neon made some really good points on that. It's just I have no interest in playing as those characters ever.
It's a good thing to troll with. I like to do that when I play in the developer streams and stuff like that. Those skins are fun to go troll with just to upset people because the overwhelming majority of people just don't care for them. But, you know, I can at least appreciate the amount of detail and effort they put into the design. And that seems to be a huge priority for those that are working in the character development section and the skin customization is that they do put a lot of effort. So I'll give them kudos that it didn't just come out looking like trash. So I'll leave it like that.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I actually like the weapon skins that came with it. I will admit that. I thought those were pretty well done.
By the way, again, one last piece is something that we completely are overlooking here. You talk about the trailer, right? We were talking about the Gears 5, Operation 5 trailer, about how there was content that was in the trailer, but then is never going to probably materialize. Well, if you watch the trailer for the WWE trailer again with the New Day, there's clearly a new execution that has not been released in that trailer. And you just have to watch it, slow it down, break it down, and you're going to see it. Again, why is that not? Yeah, why are those things not in the game? And I know that some of them are controversial. I'm not going to talk about that one in particular. It's just silly. But, you know, executions, emotes, whatever expressions, why are they not in the game already if you're going to put them in a trailer? Or at least announce, like, oh, this is coming. Because I truly expected those to be a part of the store going forward once it released.
I stopped paying attention when I seen twerking, to be honest.
Yeah. So let's move on. Hit on maps briefly. So we mentioned that we had Regency and Nexus as two new maps River was remade from Gears 2. We've never actually seen that one remade, well, outside of the Gears 3 in development build. And then we had a port of Gridlock and Clock Tower. Gridlock had a slight color change to it to make it a little darker. I don't know if Clock Tower had any changes. But let's focus on the three newish ones, River, Nexus, and Regency. So River. Cheese, you said you haven't really played much on it, right?
Yeah, I said this before we went live that I played a good bit of King of the Hill Friday night, and I played Nexus, played Regency, played Clock Tower, played Gridlock. Still have not played River, because every time River came up to vote for, Blood Drive was in the same vote, and everybody voted for Blood Drive. So please stop voting for Blood Drive. I can't stand it.
Play Guardian. I played a ton of River on Guardian.
Yeah, I still it kills me. I still haven't been able to play it, but are we talking about all the maps now, or just River in particular?
Yeah, let's start with River.
I haven't even played it, to be honest. I haven't even played Horde on it yet, so I don't have any. I wasn't really thrilled about it coming back because I kind of hated it from Gears 2, but that's just me.
I love River. I was kind of skeptical when they were bringing it back. I know a lot of people wanted it. I was kind of skeptical, but it looks fantastic. It plays just like I remember. Actually, it plays better than I remember. I think Michael was in charge of bringing River back.
Yeah. Yep.
And him adding that additional entrance down to the river from spawn. When he mentioned that on Twitter that he did that, I was kind of like, why do we need that? That seems odd. But I actually do really like that. I find myself using that a lot, as well as if I'm up in the tower with Sniper or Torque Bow, it gives me an extra angle to try and hit some people. And I think River plays amazingly right now.
It goes back to the playing and going to the nostalgic feel. It feels really good. It looks great. It actually feels like it's one of the most unique looking maps in terms of just like the scenery, the whatever they've done with the atmosphere, like the sunlight and things like that. It just looks completely different than any Gears map that I can remember off the top of my head. I do like how they explain trying to modernize that map into today's life. It does feel a little weird not having ragdoll smokes and then a mortar and things like that, but the way that it plays, I would say that it's just like it was back in the day. And the other thing is that when I was playing it in the dev tuning playlist, I actually ended up playing against Michael Shannon myself in the developer playlist. So he was using all the little nooks and crannies that he possibly knows because he designed the map against me, and I'm like, dude, what the hell? That's smart, because I didn't think about that stuff. Like,
that was
and that's the cool thing.
When I was playing, I got sniped through a little nook, and I got so pissed off. And then I saw the kill cam. I was like, "Oh my god! I remember that from Gears 2 that you could shoot through there. I completely forgot about that. I was so pumped. It was bringing back all the.
It brings back all that feeling, and I do like how they kind of updated the hill zones for King of the Hill. I think if I could be wrong, but in Gears 2, I want to say that at one point the hill was actually inside the bases where the snipers spawn.
I don't remember. I think they have one between the trucks or something.
I think you're right.
I want to say one was in there at one point. I could be wrong, but maybe and I think they probably removed that at some point because of the ragdoll smokes and going and hiding. I mean, you can't do that now, but I feel like they did a great job modernizing that map to today's life, and I think it plays good with 4-on-4, which is another controversial subject, but I do like the way that it plays on 4v4. It makes everything that you do more impactful on that map.
Yeah,
I've not played the map at all apart from one match of Blitz to try out a new tuning. And before they released River, I've said since Gears 4 when people have been begging for River back that it'd be awful because of Lancers. I'm happy to be wrong with that because they've made just a few tiny changes, which, on the houses either side, you can see down into the river itself. They've actually added a little ledge either side, which it just makes it so hard to spam rifle now. So, in my opinion, what could have been an awful map because of a weapon, a small change, it's actually a great map now. So, yeah, I'm happy to be wrong. It's a good map.
Nice. Let's move on to Regency. So, Cheese, you weren't able to talk about River at all, so you want to give some thoughts on Regency?
Regency is a gorgeous map. I really, really like it. I've only played King of the Hill on it, but I think it works really well with 4v4. I played Horde on it. The daily PvE Horde challenge was yesterday, and that was pretty brutal. But I really like the map. I like the way it flows. There's a lot of different entryways and everything. In terms of Horde, I haven't really locked down where to set the Fabricator yet, but I really like Regency. I think it's a great map.
It's So I'll hit on a couple things you said there. One, you said it's gorgeous. It gives me, especially when you're coming off the one spawn that has the banners on the floor, it really gives me Judgment vibes with the way that it looks.
Yeah.
And then it's almost too pristine and perfect looking, and like the grass looks like it's almost
The grass.
it looks like something out of Minecraft. Where it's just like perfectly flat.
That is true.
Yeah.
So it's very different. It feels weird, but it does look cool. And so I haven't played a single match on there that was not a complete blowout. And most of the time is my team losing. So I actually have not been enjoying the map. I will say, you said it plays well with 4v4. I feel the map is huge, and with 4v4 it felt way too big. It felt better with 5v5 for me.
You think so? Go ahead. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I was listening to you saying that it felt good for 4v4, and I was feeling awkward about to say I disagree, because I agree with BChaps. I think the map is huge. And it's not so much that I want 5v5 back, because I absolutely do not want that back, but I think we've been told how long it takes to make a map, and it's 6 months. So back then, when they started designing this map, it was probably being designed for 5v5. Now that it has dropped to 4v4, which, don't get me wrong, it's a good change, the map feels a little bit bigger. I think that's probably what we're seeing.
I think we'll talk about Nexus. I'm assuming next, but Nexus is totally built for 4v4. Like it's great, but Regency, I feel like the only thing I would say in regards to that, I probably shouldn't have said it was wonderful for 4v4, but is that if the hill is like where drop shot spawns and you spawn, in one of the main spawns, like you're pretty much done, because you're going to concede like 20-30 seconds easily.
But
that's the only thing with that.
But all of this ties into another subject again. It's all kind of like it links together. Is that you have to be? You can't just like, oh, I'm gonna run in there with my Nasher or whatever, and I'm just gonna die and expect to get there in 5 seconds. All that stuff is cut out. I mean, I think they're trying to make the gameplay more legacy style, where your movement and your decision making matters a little bit more than it did before, where it was 5-on-5, where you could be a little bit more aggressive, especially in maps like King of the Hill, or game modes, like King of the Hill, where you can just like, okay, I know I've got infinite lives. However, now we got infinite lives, but you still have to think about like, okay, if I die here, there could be a 7 or 8 second respawn timer, and I'm not going to make it there before that time zone or that hill is captured. I saw this on Nexus. I actually uploaded a gameplay where that happened, where basically we were losing 174 to 120. And again, I know it's not Regency, but it's Nexus. They're both fairly large maps, and regardless of how you feel about that, the decision making of the other team that allowed us in the door to go win the match 2-1, because of the fact that people were like, oh, 4-on-4, but not realizing that you have to still run to the side of the map. You don't have that additional player there, which makes the maps, like said earlier by Paul, it makes it feel a little bigger, but it is a good map, whether it was 4v4 or not. But I want to say that I wish they would have done some like more realistic grass. I don't like the turf look. It looks a little weird. But if that's all I have to complain about, really, in terms of the design, I think they nailed it out of the park. And it has some angles for crossing. So if they do go the 5v5, there's going to be some lancering there.
Yeah. I just have not had a good match on it yet. I need to play it some more until I can get to know the map a bit better and have some solid matches before I can really give my opinion. But so far I'm not a fan of it, just from what I've played.
For textures, I'd say it seems overly perfect, and I, for some reason, get an Azora feel from it. From PS3, I think of that all the time.
There was some outside elements like that. Yeah, I see the resemblance.
Some of my friends had said it felt like Azura mixed with Judgment maps. Let's see. So,
Thank
in the
you.
interest of time, let's. Oh wait, no, we have Nexus. We gotta talk about Nexus, which looks so cool.
Yeah.
Really,
Yep.
it's interesting. It really brings you back to the Gears 2 feel for maps. At the same time, it's almost like it's a Gears 2 map set in the Gears 1 time frame because you do have Krill flying around down on the
Yep.
ground.
Yeah.
But man, I've played 4v4 and I've played 5v5 on that map. I've played King of the Hill, Blitz, and Guardian on it, and every mode with 4v4 or 5v5 plays well for me. I I love Nexus as a map.
Yeah. Nexus is my. If I had to pick between the two, Nexus is my favorite.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I agree.
Nexus
it's one
is
of
the
the
best.
I think it's one of the best maps that TT have made.
Plus, you get to spawn near frags on both sides. So that's my gameplay style. So that
It,
makes it even better for me.
it's just
I
got the
was,
gritty feel. It's just got a gritty feel to it, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to say exactly what Whelan just said in chat. TC have been told however many years now, make it dark and gritty. And rather than giving us rainbows, for once they've listened to us, made it dark and gritty, and now everyone loves the map. And that's what they need to just focus on. Dark and gritty, we don't need rainbows. Focus on that.
It's funny, like the map plays out really well, but whenever you talk to somebody about these maps, one of the first things you'll hear them say is, "Oh my
Dark.
god, Nexus looks amazing."
It
Yeah.
does.
Like whoever did the arting on Nexus, bravo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Well,
it's very
it also
big
plays
square.
it also plays really great in free for all. And it's like pure carnage. And the way that they designed that map where the weapon pickups are, because in free for all, you know, people are trying to get those weapon pickups, especially like boom shot and torque bow. It does make some very interesting fights when you're going up the stairs or whatever you want to call it, by going the frags and the hammer bursts and things like that. It just plays really well. It looks great, and it's got the emulsion and everything like that as well. So it just got some unique atmosphere to it that I think basically the other thing to think about is probably it was a map that was designed without criteria and it was made for fun. Like, let's just make a map that's fun. Something like Training Grounds that had criteria. Obviously, it looked like something from the boot camp tutorial. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically
Yeah.
saying, okay, we don't have to multi-purpose this map. Let's just make it something that plays similar to Gears 1, Gears 2, and a little bit of 3.
Yeah.
I agree. There's not much to say. It's just a great map.
Yeah. It is.
All right, let's move on and talk about PvE a little bit, because we've got a lot of topics to go through, and we've been talking for close to an hour now. All right, so let's start with the class decoupling. This is something that when the game first launched, I'd say 99% of the community really wanted the decoupling. As we got closer to the time of it being implemented, we started to see more of a split where some people wanted it, some people didn't want it. Cheese, Neon, you guys are the two main PvE people in here. What are your thoughts on the decoupling of classes?
Go for it.
So the last time I was on here, I said that I was against it, and I really liked the hero system. I wasn't really thrilled about it happening, and I was worried about how you were going to be able to identify who is who, and that was really my issue with it. But I will say that Michael knocked it out of the park. It's really well done. The Even the menus going through selecting your classes, when you go into Tac-Com, you see the whether they're assault, support, tank, the whole deal. You see their level now in the game, which is really great.
Oh, that's cool.
It exceeded my expectations. I even sent Michael a message saying, I was kind of skeptical about it, but you nailed it. Like I have to say it was really well done.
So what I'll ask you then is, so you were kind of against it before it happened, but you think they did a good job. Would you prefer that they didn't do it still, or do you think you prefer it this new way?
I like the way it is now.
Yep.
not going to be excited when you go into an escape match with 3 New Day characters from WWE or anything like that. But I like it now. I like the way it is now. I think they made and I like the way, like I said, I like the way they made the menus. Going through, seeing your classes, and selecting your. Not that the card UI is any better, unfortunately, but
I was about to ask about that.
It
No
hasn't
changes.
changed. It hasn't changed with that. I ran into it Tuesday when I loaded in. I went to select one of the new cards and it deselected. So I played the game with 4 cards, but no. If I had to choose as of right now, I'd say I'm glad that I prefer it this way. The way it is now, I prefer it.
So I'll say the one thing. Actually, there's 2 things I'm not a fan of with the UI. One of them is they still don't show your perks in the UI. I don't believe.
No.
That is something they 100% should add to the UI, is show you what perks are available for each character. The other one, it's just because I don't play PvE enough. Part of me really misses seeing that character that was associated with each one, and I guess it's just a transition period for me. It's, hey, I want to go play as Clayton. Crap, I don't know. I think he's called Gunner now, but it's like, I don't know what each of the characters were, what their new class name is.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that there was some little helpful thing to help me more quickly transition to these class names.
Yeah, I was nervous about that when they released the blog post and listed all the classes. I was like, "Good Lord, how am I going to remember all these names?" And honestly, Tuesday night I saw Pilot, I saw Gunner, I saw Veteran, and I knew exactly who it was. So it was actually a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah, I think it's just because I don't play enough to. I haven't gotten used to it yet. So I think what they did is probably the right thing, but for me it's a little annoying because I just haven't played it enough.
Yeah.
So the perspective on my side is I was against the whole decoupling thing because I was like, well, it adds a sense of attachment to that class and character. Again, I think the biggest fear that we all had, that if you were against it, was like, oh gosh, I don't know who's going to be playing what class, because there was no indications of any type of thing other than that character. You knew what their role was, and they did a good job of implementing that change on the character menu selection and being able to identify in the UI what class you're selecting. In terms of the UI, though, is I had the same issue on the very first daily horde challenge. I went to go add a new card, and then as the game's loading in, deselected it. I played with 4 card. I uploaded it to YouTube, and I was like complaining the whole time. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm missing one of the most important cards, the try shot on the pilot or the salvo card to keep your ultimate extended longer." That really sucked because I was playing at a disadvantage because of the UI. And also in terms of that UI is, if you're playing mouse and keyboard, I can't speak for controller users, but I was using my mouse to make the changes, but it would accidentally, even though I'm on the pilot class, I could accidentally click on the class right below it. Let's just say it's the gunner class. And then I'm in the gunner class card section. It's a little too easy to change your class, which made it a little bit of annoying. But overall, they did a good job with the UI in terms of okay, here's your class sets, here's who's playing what. The only few things that I would wish that they would do, because I'm still confused what cards people are running in public matches, or just when I host a private match, I don't know what they're using. I would like to have some sort of indicator of what skill cards these individuals are using, and then what is the true measurement of buffs and perks that you're getting, or nerfs that you're getting, whatever it might be. I've said this 100 times. This is just a basic gameplay thing. It might be hard to develop, I get it, but if you're going to expand Horde, because it is a highly popular, or PvE, I should say, it's a highly popular game mode. It is a pillar of the foundation of Gears now. It's been since Gears 2. I don't see why they don't expand on adding some key measurement information onto the screen. And that's really about all I have to say on that. They did, oh, by the way, and for those that do play Horde and Escape, they did add a down indicator of what class is down, which is nice on the mini-map. So you know what class went down on the ground as well. And that's really helpful when you're playing Escape.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll just acknowledge Journey in the chat. Yes, they did fix the menu triggers.
Social Manager still broke.
Social menu is still broken. They did fix the menu triggers, so the social stuff comes in from the left. Now, does Tour of Duty, come in from the right now, or does it still come in from the left also?
I think it comes from the right.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty sure it comes from the right.
Livo, what were you saying?
I was going to say, as we're talking PvE at the moment, and I know literally nothing about that, but I just got one question for you guys. A thought that I've had since Gears 4 and still got now. Obviously, we couldn't implement it to Gears 5 now because it's way too far in, but looking forward to Gears 6. What's your opinion on the XP being shared between PvE and PvP? Because in my opinion, you can, I don't know, let's make up an example. A player could be re-up 10. Both players could be re-up 10, okay? And I could join I could join a PvE game on Inconceivable. I could be really good at PvP and then be absolutely shocking in your game of PvE. And then equally, I could bring you into my PvP game at Masters, and you wouldn't be able to compete even though we're the same rank. What would your opinions be if the PvE and PvP XP ranks were separate and two different rank systems?
I think that having a universal one, that it's basically your time played in Gears type thing. And I personally think that is better. When you're looking at someone who may have leveled up a lot in PvP and then they go into PvE, you can tell how much they've played PvE based on the level of the character that they're playing as, basically.
Right.
It's like, hey, I'm level 15 with the Brawler class. That means I've played at least a decent amount as this Brawler class. I should know what I'm doing. In PvP, you have Ranked, which should show your rank and help give an idea there. And Quick Match is not really anything, so I don't know what they could do. But, so I would say PvE and Ranked have those sort of separate things. And I do like having the universal one that's combined. I don't know what they can do for Quick Match, though.
Yeah, I like having a universal. My only thing is they should buff the XP you get from versus. I mean, it's a joke.
It's
now.
low compared.
And that's after they buffed it. Didn't they double or triple it before? It's bad.
Honest, that's where my first idea come from, because I had this idea back in Gears 4 where the only way to realistically reach the high re-ups was by doing horde speedruns.
Right.
So obviously moving into Gears 5 now, it's a little bit different. But I feel like if we are again going by time played, if you're putting PvE onto a high difficulty, you can earn XP a lot faster in PvE than you would if you were to just grind PvP all day. That's the main reason why I was thinking of it. And then I think the skills sort of come in afterwards as an afterthought. But definitely in terms of XP, they don't seem balanced. I don't see how you possibly could balance it, because the PvE player would want to be rewarded, not so much for the time played, but for the effort put into, let's say, Insane or Inconceivable. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to say, because I've been thinking about this while this was going on, is yes, the versus XP sucks. You play 30 minutes and you get like 500 XP. It's garbage. That's a fact. One thing I will say is I actually don't align with what BChaps or Cheese said on this. Is I believe that you pose a good question that, yeah, you should separate it. You should separate it, but you should have three ways of rank. You should have your overall time, like they were saying, with your overall XP. But then you break it down into subcategories for PvE, and you break it down into PvE. And then you can also use that as a measurement for people that play PvE. Okay, I don't want anybody that hasn't mastered certain maps with a certain character, or I don't want people to play, start breaking it down into more measurements and then criteria to where you can view that information in real time through a leaderboard stat. But of course, you have to have something like the War Journal that works, and there's not a true War Journal. But in going forward in Gear 6, if you introduce a feature like that, I think that you could start saying, because for me and probably many others, if you go play a PvE match, for example, I don't want to focus on PvP right now, but in this situation is, okay, you're new to the game. I don't really care to have you, because I don't want to level 1 in my master's rank lobby. I want people that are established players, and I want to know what your true PvE rank is. I want to know how much time you spent. I want to know what classes you have leveled up. I want all that information available to me as the player, so I can judge if you're actually worthy to come join this game. And I know that it sounds like, oh, you're dividing the community. No, that's not what I'm doing.
It makes sense.
I'm trying to play the way that I want to play, for example. And then you can do that, and then you kind of already have it in a way with ranked, with the ranking system that we have now. But go ahead and add an XP rank to it, and then you can combine that to your total play or something like that. I mean, you can get into really some detailed thought, and then a 5-minute conversation like this wouldn't do well for that. But I'd like the idea of what you're potentially proposing for them to rethink about, because it has not been like that at all. I think it would be a nice change.
Yeah.
You'll last thing I'll say on that, you'll actually see if you go into custom horde private lobbies or whatever, that you'll see people say they want required at level 18 re-up 20 plus. You'll see that in the description, because they know that if you're re-up 20 plus further along, that you've likely played a ton of PvE.
Yeah. So going back to the PvE stuff, so we talked about the class decoupling. What about the balance in PvE now?
I want to go first on this one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to give some high level insight. The other day I mentioned that I got to play with Michael Shannon. We know that Michael Shannon does the map development, but he also runs the PvE department, basically as a one-man crew. So I found that very interesting. I already knew it, but he officially confirmed it on one of the most recent developer streams. When I got to play with him, believe it or not, I asked him very clearly. I was like, "Hey, would you mind playing, PvE with me once we get off?" And he said, "Sure." I was not expecting that. I loaded up. We played the featured hive. We played the daily horde challenge that day, and we failed a few. And the daily escape hive. And while we're doing that, I was just asking him, like, "Hey, man, like, how did you come up with some of these decisions? Like, what are you doing?" And he kind of walked me through, like, at a high level, not in depth, but like, we have to cater to new players. We have to cater to the new players. We don't want to change the meta because we know that there's people that love the speed run. So we have to make sure that speedrunners are happy. We have to make sure that those that want a theory craft are happy. We have to make sure that new players understand how to play the game. So they're balancing 3 or 5, 3 to 4 different type of styles of gameplay. Just so the balancing changes are more to accommodate, like, not everyone. So you're not just siloed into, okay, I'm gonna go load up escape, hitting the surge, you know what to do, or I'm gonna go run the detour, or if I'm gonna go play horde, we know that we're gonna have a JD spam, a Marcus spam. You already kind of knew what the meta was gonna be, and what I think has happened is the meta has changed, but it hasn't changed as bad as I once thought it was. Like, when I saw the patch notes, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna suck. But I got to play, and we played, and the new daily and all those, like, challenges with mutators is something that kind of takes into effect of this, that in terms of your balancing. JD is still just as efficient as ever. You just have, like, the fact that they changed the artillery strike from just one artillery strike to marking 5 enemies, and it goes boom, 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 and there's a lot of bleed damage. You're still playing JD kind of more or less the same as you did multiple operations ago. The Nomad is a great class. Kate's class is a little bit broken. I think that they need to make some adjustments to the Infiltrator class. You're not able to, like, just shoot your gun and start seeing bleeding damage from 100 feet away, which has upset the community because Kate is such a close range class.
Yeah.
But I do believe that they're trying to bring uniqueness and diversification to skill classes, because we got siloed. And, like, here's the 5 cards that you always need to use, and here's how you're going to play. But they get energy taps. Now you have characters that get perks around energy taps, such as Blade Master and Robotics Expert. The Marksman class is still great. One class that was, like, all the high buster classes, such as or Scorpio classes, such as Blade Master, Anchor, and Tactician, were pretty much garbage in Horde. And now they actually have a good place. The Anchor class, you get double, or I'm sorry, not double, but like 50% damage increase on top of what you normally do. As if you're JD, you're just, like, raining pain with boom shots, or the Marksman with Foz. There's a lot of good changes in this overall. And again, this is just high level, but you have to understand that the reasoning for the balancing changes was because we got so siloed into constantly just speed running overload, for example.
Yeah. What about the fact that you can have duplicate classes now?
It's good. Yeah, no, it's good change.
It's good.
it's a good change, because there were times where, like, you're back in the day, like in Operation 1 and 2, you're like, well, crap, I should play Emil and Lonnie because they're the only two melee centric classes on a particular hive or whatever. At the time of thinking Escape, it was best to have multiple like melee centric classes because the other ones just didn't make sense. But now we got the ability to do that. I'm seeing a lot of stuff with like the brawler class, or the brawler and pilot class. I'm seeing a lot of duplication there. I don't think there's a bad thing with that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if people are exploiting, like if it's overpowered now. Like, hey, I'm gonna go run this map, and this is a great close quarters map, so we're gonna have 3 brawlers on there or something like that.
No, I haven't seen any negativeness around it yet. And actually, something to think about is, in team comp with these new daily horde challenges or featured horde challenges, is you're like, dang, what classes am I actually going to use for this nonsense? So a duplicate class is actually really helpful, potentially, with the new mutator sets that are being applied to daily and featured challenges.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to hit on those, but real quick before we get to those events, Cheese, did you have anything else to add to the balance portion?
A little bit. I agree with a lot of what Neon said. The balance changes really pushed the bar in terms of variety for the characters. Like with launch up to, I guess, Operation 3, Operation 4, you had like for JD and certain other characters, you had 5 cards, and this was your loadout. These were the 5 cards you needed to run, and if you didn't do it, then I don't really know what you were doing or thinking there. But now there's different ways to play with a lot of the characters. Jack, you can be offensive now. I don't agree with all of the balance changes like Kate. I know that's kind of a sore subject with a lot of people, that her bleed doesn't extend past 5 meters, and I got a feeling that's going to get changed soon. But yeah, like another thing is Michael really put the passives for each class to be more in tune with the characters, the actual class now, where it's not, every 6 kill drops a pill for ammo, or, damage taken recharges your ult. It actually makes sense in terms of the class. And I don't know, like there's not one defined meta like it used to be at launch. You can do whatever you want. And with the duplicate classes and characters and everything, like most of the mastered games I've played, I haven't really seen a whole lot of the same class. I did have one, there were 3 pilots in one game, and there were silverbacks being spammed all the time. But as far as like what I'm used to since launch is JD spamming GL or Operation 4 Marcus holding down right trigger for 50 waves. Like that, it's balanced. And yeah, Scorpio Squad too, also, like they made all of them more support. Like Max shield reflects that. We already know it was invincible. It reflects everything. But now each time the barriers hit, it gives stem to everybody. And that can really save a run. And do what?
I was just gonna say one thing that that you and I should probably mention, and I'll be the one that does it, is in the Gears franchise, since Gears 2, Gears 3, Gears 4, in Horde or PvE in general, there's never been any form of true balancing changes over time. There's only been some changes with like removal of damage or whatever it might be, like in Gears 4.
Fixing exploits.
Exploits. We have never seen any RPG style tweaks real time in PvE ever. So I believe that the community as a whole is not used to those type of changes and balancing changes. Whereas if you play games like, World of Warcraft, Diablo, those type of style games where you're able like to get monthly patches and weekly patches and hot fixes that fix exploits, but also like fix broken mechanics. That's where the stuff originates from. And it's actually a good thing that they're taking the time still 14 months after launch in a game that they've never done a thing like this before. And they're like, wait. Let's just revamp this whole thing and let's make some changes to the meta. And then let's make it more interesting by adding mutators, which have never been in Horde before.
Right.
So they're doing really good things. And so the balancing it alone it's just very important to understand that from a player perspective, because we'll probably forget that in our head, like, oh my god, they ruined my favorite feature. But you have to understand that this is a part of the service base that they're doing in the game, and that challenge, like making massive revisions to game modes like this is huge. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we add that.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Because I think with Gears 4 they added level 6 cards, maybe added a few new cards, but like this update, Michael added 16 new cards. My
And they're
only,
not useless.
yeah, they're not useless either. Like some of these are really good. My only thing is that there's been a refusal to address the promotional characters still, and Michael went into it when he
Cheesy cut out a little bit.
We may have just lost Cheese, but he was saying Michael's hit on it briefly when he was on the developer stream and said that like it takes time and they need to figure out what they want to do with them, and it's not something that they're prioritizing right now.
Yep.
Grace,
And those
I didn't pay for Grace or the striker class or whatever it's called now. Like,
yep.
It's available. Mine's level 3 right now. Like
Level 1.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like, it's not hidden behind Justin Bieber. Like right now you can play it. So I get it when he went into his explanation of that. It takes away from stuff. I still wish they would address it.
Yeah. So on PvE, I also wanted to talk about the events and the featured things that they're doing, as well as the future of Horde and Escape. I'm going to group those together, and let's come back to that topic. Let's shift over and talk about PvP and hit on some of Livo's specialties here, and then we'll cycle back to the other PvE stuff, right?
Okay, it's quite a big transition, this one. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously this stream, it was for Operation 5. For me to talk about what I wanted to talk about, I'm looking at my other screen now. I've got a page full of notes I want to talk about. I don't think that's probably the best way to go about it, but I think for me to talk about what I want to talk about, I've got to go back quite a long way to the launch of Gears 4. I won't take that long, I promise. But the launch of Gears 4, it was just wildly different from Gears 3. And that was more in the sense of the tunings. I'm not interested, at this time, I'm not interested in the maps or the characters or anything like that. I'm literally looking at the tunings. I found that, yes, there was rifling on Gears 3, that hammerburst and stuff like that. But on Gears 4, it's all anyone did, especially in, like, I don't know, diamond rank matches. It was just Lancers. And yes, I can play with it all the time. And then they kind of heard feedback and they made the 2.8 beta where they made all the changes. And it felt much more balanced. And then Gears 5 comes out, and it's like they've completely forgotten everything they've just learned. And we get this, I don't even know what tuning it was, to be honest, but it was clearly just to bring in new players and help new players. And I don't see how there's any doubt towards that. They're changing it again, but I feel like, yes, they're changing it again, and great. And this year they have done a fantastic job, and I cannot knock TC at all. This year they've done brilliantly. I feel like the damage is done and it's way too late, because appealing to new players, yeah, it's great. You got to bring them in, but a new player on a game like Gears is so unique. They're not going to stick around, and I've said this for so long. So they're going to play a few months, then move on to something else. Appealing to new players and helping new players is just going to annoy the old players, and they're going to give up as well. So now we're in a situation where new players have moved on, and old players, a lot of them have given up, and now we're in a situation where we can't even have a +-1 ranking system because the player base isn't there to support it. And I feel like TC have done that to themselves, and it's too late, and it was just because it seems like it was a money grab at first when the game first come out, and now it's dying. They're looking to us to be like, oh crap, how do we fix that? And it just seems like it's too late. So now, yes, they're making fantastic changes, but it's too late for Gears to actually get the population that people seem to want it to have. But at the same time, TC made the issue to start with, in my opinion. Now it's the community, because the community, we're divided now thanks to that change, because you've got the older fans who stuck around, who like a certain play style, and you've got the new fans that have come, and some of them stayed. Those players have started on a new play style, a new play style that's heavily assisted, more Lancer focused. They hate the old play style, and the older play style hate the new play style. Does that make sense? So I feel like that's where the divide is now. So in the past, there was a little bit of a divide between Gears 1, 2, and 3 players. Now they're just kind of bunched together as legacy players who dislike new players and vice versa. So now I feel like if TC have been trying to take a change, they have been looking at this as how do you go about it to keep both sides happy? But I've been saying for so long, you cannot keep both sides happy because it's too different. And I don't feel like there's a middle ground because that middle ground, nobody's happy. So I feel like this year in particular, they definitely seem to be moving towards keeping the older players happy. I think the tuning updates clearly show that, and I personally like that. And I get it that some people don't like that though, and you're not going to keep everybody happy like that. And yes, the player base probably will continue to drop now because there's just nobody left from the very start. And there's so much to talk about, but I kind of wanted to say as well, a lot of the blame is on the community because I don't think the community even know what they want. I see so much. Oh, please bring Team Deathmatch back to 5v5. Let us have full stacks. I want to play with my friends. Then I also see people saying, please bring back Execution. I want to play Execution for the classic Gears feel, which is one life mode. And then I see Execution not getting enough players to even keep it populated to stay in ranked. And now I see people saying, I want Wingman back. So to me, I just see a massive contradiction there of people saying, I want the old Gears feeling back of one life modes with Wingman, but never play them. Also saying, I want to play with my friends, so I want 5-man teams, but I also want Wingman, which is 2-man. The community don't know what they want. And TC, how can they possibly keep the community happy if they don't know what they want?
Yeah, I mean,
Good point.
They're in a difficult place. They just have to take all this feedback that they're hearing from all the different parts of the community and do what they think is right.
I think it's very important to understand that too, is that, you know, there's a very vocal crowd out there that says, I want Wingman. I also wonder, though, if the single life for Wingman would not hurt it, because I hate to say it, but we all know the truth is that the game is not as popular in terms of popularity in game and logins per player or per individual, whatever. So perhaps their friends are no longer 5-man stacks. Like I have people that I would say, dude, yeah, let's go play Wingman because it's fun and it's not 2v2 Nashers.
I mean, most of the time I plays with one other person or two other people. So.
Yeah, so something like that, maybe Wingman would find the success of, well, it is single life mode, it is a little bit of a legacy style, and I don't have many friends that want to play PvP anymore. There's very few. Or let me back that up. There's also very few, but there's also very few that care to play at a high level. You know what I mean? Like they want to go play casual, just quick play, and just go in there and die and get their dailies and move on out. I rather be like, okay, yeah, let's go get masters. So maybe something like Wingman could be a good mode to implement back ends. But you make very great points all across the board from how it is over the last 2 games.
Okay.
So let's sit on community service. The new quit penalty system that they implemented for ranked. How do you think that's going?
I think it's awful. And again, go back to Gears 4, I've said so. So for me, I only play PvP. Since Gears 3, have only deliberately quit one ranked match. Since that time, I have spent upwards of 12 hours banned. No doubt. And that's all due to disconnections and crashes that aren't my fault. So as much as I don't like quitters, I think a lot of the quitter issue is the fact that people aren't actually quitting. They're getting kicked from games and then punished. So TC are saying modes aren't populated, but they're kicking them from the matches, probably not deliberately, but they're kicking them from matches and then preventing them from matchmaking again. So no one's going to stay in the game if they're getting banned if they can't even play for no fault of their own. I think it's a ridiculous idea.
So, well, that's not necessarily an issue with community service. That's more of an issue with people getting disconnected. Because with the community service at least lets them play quick match and then get back into rank. The old one would just ban them, right?
Yeah.
No, it's better over the ban, but I feel like until it's 100% stable, there should be no punishment in place. Because think back to a dev stream about, I don't know, 6 weeks ago now as a guess. Dana got kicked from his own private match about 6 times. If that was ranked, you'd be constantly getting put in community service, and it's stupid.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what to do. I mean, they can't make it so there's no penalty right now because then quitting would be rampant. But
Yeah.
but I have seen a lot of posts recently about people getting just disconnected and forced to play community service.
So,
I don't know what they could do.
one thing that I've seen and I've had people message me about is, and again, this does not affect me, so I don't know how to actually respond to it other than I don't know how it works in other countries. Is that ISPs change their IPs, and when they renew that, it disconnects them. My suggestion is just
Get a static
set
IP.
up a static IP on your Xbox. But apparently, and again, you have to think, and again, this is a very you have to. I don't like to say because I don't. It's not trying to be mean, but it's also like I don't know how the coalition will care to address a said issue when it's a very minor number of people being affected. You know what I mean? So my suggestion is make a static IP on your Xbox, your console, whatever, or PC, whatever it is that you're using, and that way, when those changes happen, your IP address on that console stays the same, so you don't get disconnected from matches. But the caveat is, what if you're not able to afford your own router and you're not able to make changes because of the IP, your ISP? And again, I don't know how other countries work. I don't live there, right? I live in a big city, so I have the ability to make all those changes on the fly just through my phone or just by logging in on the website on my computer. But other countries may not have that ability. So again, if that's being affected, the coalition has to look into it. But again, I don't know if they're going to care enough to say, "Well, you're one out of a million, so I don't care." It's not ever going to be perfect. But like Chaps said, there has to be some form of penalty because it's gotten better. But it was such a rampant thing to happen over the last several games and several years that it was constantly just people quitting in ranked matches, which then they bought incentivization to allow people to want to play solo matches and stuff like that. But again, it's just not enough. You have to make a penalty of some kind. Yeah. And at least like you said, if you do get a ban, you have the ability to go play matches and get back in there. Whereas before it was like, well, you quit so many times, you're just done. You're not even going to log in anymore. So we saw that when they rolled out something early this year or late last year, where people were getting banned for lifetime bans for quitting. So at least they revised it. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, right? But
yeah. And so they did say there were a lot of people getting disconnected with the error code Sarah, and they, in theory, put in some fix for that. I actually know last night, I think it was, I got disconnected with error code Sarah, so that wasn't great. But they are aware of the disconnect issues and they are working on it. I don't know what they'll do, but they're working on it.
I'd be more, what's the word, understanding towards that if it wasn't for the fact it's been an issue since the start of Gears 4.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Yeah.
See, on PvP, we also have the playlist organization. So we'll start with ranked, which right now is 2v2, free-for-all, King of the Hill, and TDM, with King of the Hill and TDM both being squads of 4? Or
TDM.
I meant, is it the team size is 4 on those now?
Oh,
the
yeah.
Team size
team size 4v4.
Team size
TDM
4. And then TDM is limited to 2-person squads, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's just start with the modes. TDM, King of the Hill, free-for-all, 2v2. Any complaints? Do you like it?
Keep it.
I am going to be massively unpopular, as usual. And I don't like ranked at all. I would much prefer it if ranked wasn't in the game whatsoever. And it's not because I can't reach a rank or whatever. I just don't like how it makes people play. In my opinion, both social and ranked, it's still public. If you want to play competitively, go and play proper competitive. Because people look at ranked and think, oh, I've got to play like a Vexies. And they aren't at the skill of a Vexies, but they look at esports on live stream to see, oh, there's someone lancing, that must mean pros lancer. It's like, yeah, okay, they do. But what they don't do is sit there for 10 minutes looking at a wall. Like, what are you doing? So I think ranked, it could have been good, but I think the fact that we can see our ranked tiers makes people play differently. I think ranked could work if it worked in the background purely to matchmake you against similar skilled players and you couldn't see your rank. That way people would play for fun, which is what we'll play the game for. And people who seriously want to play competitively would go and do that. So I think that's why the changes have been made to the ranked modes that some people say they don't like, because I know a lot of people don't like the fact that Team Deathmatch is a max squad of 2. Personally, after the experience of playing it, I like that it's a max squad of 2, but it is Team Deathmatch, and those people do have a point. A squad of 2 isn't team. So I think had people not played so weirdly, like their life depended on it, then that rank change wouldn't have been made. So I honestly believe, had rank not existed whatsoever, that mode would still be enjoyable for all those people that wanted to play it. I would like to see all of the modes put into social, like it was Gears 3. You can see your XP rank, and perhaps, if it can, it'll matchmake it just so it's against your similar skill, but don't have it so it's vital. We play Gears for fun. It hasn't got a population like it's Call of Duty. Like, what is wrong with people who play ranked?
Yeah, I'm also kind of in the boat of I wish ranked just didn't exist, but that's because I mainly play quick play. I'm just a casual player. I play for fun. But there are people like Neon. I think you might be one of them who you like the grind and you want to be able to see your rank and progress and.
Yeah, I'll add. I actually have mixed feelings. I mean, the way that the game's presented to myself, yeah, I'm gonna grind it. Like I'm gonna grind the ranks, and then I'm gonna get to a point where I can't go anymore. So I do kind of like that aspect of it. However, I do believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's really no difference other than one, the quality of player skill being the main one when you go from quick play to ranked, right? That's usually about it, and especially as you level up your rank.
And the other difference is the number of quitters and bot backfilling.
Okay, yeah. So those are the two things, right? I think it's a little silly that there's really true no fundamental difference between the two of quick play and ranked. So what does that do? Again, it limits the population of the players. I would actually like them to just do something that's similar to what they did in 4, but they do this in Call of Duty now, and they've been doing this in Call of Duty the last few games that they put out, I believe, is basically when you go play a quick match, you're going to have an elo rating. So put that out there somewhere somehow. We'll let it work in the background, like Paul said. And then if you want to get into the real competitive scene like they did in 4, is go have an not like the escalation playlist, the competitive setting, and that will be its own. And then those people that want to play competitively will have the tuning and all that, like esports, Gears has or should have or does have, whatever those rules and regulations are. Go play that over there, but let quick play and ranked individuals move on into a quick play, and then it will auto tune based off your rating. I think that's kind of what would be the sweet spot, because then it reduces the amount of playlists, which has been something that's been a hot topic for many years. I think they've tried to implement that here recently, especially in this operation. But I think if you do all of that, you still have a grind, but maybe that grind is no longer ranked. It may be in the competitive setting, which ranked is just a glorified quick play.
So basically, you're saying there should be quick play, which has all of the modes. It's skill-based matchmaking, but you can't see your rating. It's all happening in the background. And then
right, yeah.
Ranked, the quote-unquote ranked, is really just one mode. It is the premier esports mode or whatever.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
That'd work.
Yep.
And I think I would be on board with that.
I think that way it just consolidates everything. It makes it easier. The player can just go play the objective mode or single style life mode, whatever it might be. I don't care. Just again, this is something that you would have to like start putting pencil to paper and start figuring out what works, what doesn't work. But I think that would just make it a lot easier for newer players, returning players, and like I said, quick play is just like ranked right now. It's just a glorified quick play.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And the thing is with that, yes, you could get stacks into it, and yes, some people wouldn't want to play against that. But going back to Gears 3, that is exactly what 99% of people did. And if you didn't like a lobby, you left it and found another one. No one cared about a quitter. You don't care who your opponent is. You just play the game for fun. And the other team, there's no over incentive to sweat or camp. They just played for fun, and that's what's missing.
Yeah, I hate the limits on lobby size right now. So
the 1-to-1.
No, like,
are you talking?
I mean, I don't know what it's like in Operation 5, but I know in previous operations there were times where I'll have like Sid, Jess, Schwartz, me. So there's 4 of us. We'll hop into matchmaking, and we want to play like we just like playing quick play. So we'll hop into something, and max party size of 3. You guys can't join that.
I follow what you're saying there.
And 99% of the time when we're playing, we are not talking about the match at all. We are talking about just life, or we are drinking and having fun. Like, we're not a stack that's going to go stomp people. We're just 4 friends playing for fun.
Mm-hmm. Again, that goes back to what I was saying, because even Dana, I don't know how directly he said it, but he pretty much implied that the change to TDM, for example, with it being a max squad of 2, was because of how people played. So it is the minority that's ruined it for everybody else. Yeah. But again, I feel like had that incentive not been there, like, oh, I need to reach Masters, but I can't do it by myself. Had that not been there, no one would have seen their rank. They would have just played normally for fun. And in that way, the squad size could have remained.
Yeah.
I would really hope that the coalition, when I say they, would give something like that some thought as we move towards Operation 6. That's what's missing.
Single ranked mode.
Yeah, it's just missing from the game. And it's actually a modernized playlist style. I mean, you go look at Call of Duty or Master Chief Collection. You know, there's things like that in both of those games where you have your criteria, whatever it might be. Go play that the way that you want to play it. You don't have to. I don't like to use the word like ruin, but you're not ruining the experience for anybody, but you're dictating the way that the game is going to play for the future, as we have seen with like party lobby sizes of 2, for example, or the reduction of 5v5 to 4v4, because, you know, that extra 5th person does make a huge difference in King of the Hill and those type of modes. So just something to think about.
Yeah. Can I just say as well, as we're talking about, well, your question initially started with the lobby sizes. Personally, from a tactical side, I prefer 4v4 purely because if you think of Gears maps, they are meant to be, well, most are 3 lanes. When you've got 5 players, you've got one random guy who's running around doing whatever he wants. Whereas if you've got the 4, then you can get 3 people to watch one lane and 1 to push forward or do whatever your strat is. There's more, what's the word? There's more meaning to that player. Every player that's on the team, they've got more meaning and more of a role. Whereas if there's 5 people, one guy can just go and do whatever he wants. I'm glad that it's 4v4 for that as well.
So, I don't know. I look at it multiple ways. One way is with 5v5, you have 5 players at your disposal. It allows for more combinations of strats. You can have more diverse strats with it being 5v5. On the other hand, like you said, with less people, it means each player's life is worth more. And you got to strike the balance there. And I think from what I have seen, it's at a casual level of play, I think 5v5 is better. Once you start getting into more organized, higher level of play, that's when 4v4 really starts to shine. Because at that higher level of play, people are more organized, they will cross, they have the more developed strats, and that's where it can start to feel overcrowded with 5v5. In social, when everyone's running around, basically not playing as a team really, 5v5 works wonderfully. And that's where I personally play. or that's where I enjoy playing, is in that very casual environment. So I like
Uh,
5v5.
I would say that the overwhelming majority of the players want to play in a casual environment. It's
Yeah.
those that want to do wagers and that want to go try to be on the circuit and whatever and play esports. Like I said, just make a playlist for that and then let them have at it. And then let quick play be quick play like we've known it to be in the past.
Yeah.
But you do make a good point with the 3 lanes, because games like League of Legends, 3 lanes, right? I think you only have 4 individuals on those, and I know League of Legends is not anything close to what Gears is, but these games all borrow ideas from each other. People play. Just because you make a shooter game doesn't mean you're not looking at other style genres of games to figure out what they're doing to implement into your game. We saw that with PvE. You have one person, it's a jungler. They're running around. There's kind of like, okay, you got 3 people. You got one person in this lane. You got one in the middle, one in the bottom. And then you got one person that's just kind of lurking, roaming, trying to just feed up stuff and, maybe sneak attack somebody. And that's what makes 4v4 more appealing to me. But it comes down to the map design as they go forward. So
Yeah, so what about
just,
that? The fact that we're so far into this game, and the game was designed around 5v5. And I wonder if they go to 4v4, does that just make some of the maps basically irrelevant?
Probably, yeah.
probably.
I would think so, yeah.
Chaps, what you said at the start, I completely agree with. From a casual gameplay perspective, 5v5 is better. But I'm thinking back to Gears 3 now when I'd play it a little bit more competitively, or if it was scrims or GB. I don't remember ever seeing a 5v5 scrim. It was always a max of 4v4, if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong there. I don't remember ever seeing a
I'm not sure.
5v5 scrim because competitively, it just didn't work. I'm pretty sure I only played 3v3, so it's going back a while. But I don't remember ever seeing 5v5. So if people are saying ranks meant to be the competitive mode, then 5v5, surely based on what you've just said, wouldn't make sense. So again, that's why I'd like to see most modes in quick play and then one ranked mode, which is matched at esports, like what we said before. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. So on this whole 5v5, 4v4 type thing, it's a big part of the tuning that they're doing, especially with this beta playlist. So we have the movement aspect, we have the number of people on a team, and then we have the weapon damage and modifiers. So we kind of just hit on the 4v4 versus 5v5. What about these movement changes? Or movement changes in combination with the balance change, weapon changes?
So I was actually going to talk about this loads, but then I thought maybe it was a bad idea. So I'll touch on it a little bit. I really like the changes that they've made all this year. I think Jim Bob's done a fantastic job. I like 99% of this update in the dev players that we can see now, except for the delays. Personally, I don't like that, but that's not something I'm going to go into because I know it's going to be so controversial. That's just the one thing I don't like. I have also said, though, as much as I've been saying for years, the Lancer needs a nerf, I think the Lancer's now in a good spot. And in a dev playlist, they're thinking of nerfing another 5 damage again, which I have said to Jim Bob, I think is a really bad thing. It'd make it too weak. So, from looking at it as a fair, balanced perspective, I think it could be a very good change, but it definitely needs some tweaking, and this version shouldn't roll out. Because whilst it might seem good to some people playing it in a casual blitz environment, again, if they don't make the changes we just suggested to ranked, as soon as it gets into ranked, people are going to play it differently, which means what we're testing now in a casual environment, it will not make any difference, and it will feel completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of up in the air on how I feel about it. I completely agree with you. I don't think the Lancer should be nerfed anymore. One of the movement feels fine to me. I don't really have much of an issue with the new beta tuning, but I'm also not really one to really get picky about the movement and the various tunings. One thing I do really like that I saw they changed was the torque bow. They decreased the charge rate of that, so you have to charge a little longer, because if they keep increasing it, it's like this ridiculously fast thing. I will say, I miss the ability to teardrop or do lob shots with the torque bow. this will help with that a little bit. It won't be nearly what it was in Gears 1 or 2, but it will help.
I think they said to that they couldn't do it simply because it was too CPU intensive. I'm sure I heard that somewhere. I could be wrong. I'm sure I heard that like a year ago. They couldn't do it for that reason, which yeah I missed.
And the other thing I really miss on the torque bow is what I call a torque hug. Is if you shoot me with the torque bow and I'm stuck and I roll into you, it's that splash damage that can kill you in return. They've reduced that damage significantly. I think they've increased the splash damage if you shoot on the floor near somebody, but if you stick somebody and they roll into you, I miss the ability to get them back like that.
I didn't know that. So.
But other than that, I don't really have much of an opinion on the beta tuning. I think don't nerf the Lancer, so I don't like that change, but I do like the torque bow change. Other than that, I don't care.
To add to that, the Lancer, as much as I don't want the damage nerf, I'd like to see its rate of fire reduced a little bit because I think that's what makes it feel too powerful. Because whilst you're aiming at someone with its current rate of fire, which is higher than it was in Gears 3, it's too easy to land your shots, and I think that's why people are finding it still too powerful when it's really not. Also, a change that they've made that not many people talk about is the speed it takes to swap weapons. I'm glad they've increased that as well.
You want them to increase the time it takes so it's a slower swap?
Yeah, that's what they're doing with this dev. I keep calling it a dev stream. With this dev tuning, that's what they're testing, and I do want them to increase that time because it's let's say you catch somebody with the sniper out in a wrong position, and you're running at them with a Nasher. You've caught them out of position with the wrong weapon out. As it is now, they've got too much time to just equip a Nasher and body you before you get there. Whereas if it's slower, you've caught them off guard and you get the kill that you should get.
Yeah, I agree with that. You should be punished if you're carrying a power weapon or a sniper or something like that, shooting at somebody, and you go to engage them. Like now, yeah, they'll weapon swap real quick and shatter you. Versus, yeah, you should be punished for that. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
I like the way the movement feels though. I just like the heavy weight to your character instead of like this Super Mario crap where you're just like, hype. I don't want to get into that part. Never mind.
It's a combination, guys.
We talked about this offline many days ago where I was like, I play more like a legacy player of year 1 and 2 style. I don't believe that I need to do all the crazy balancing in order to land my shots. I've proven that on video. That's the way I play. But
I bot walk.
I like so. I don't do that, but they'll say I do. but regardless, personally, like I just don't like the hyper movement in a game like this where it's always been big, bulky men, but then all of a sudden now everybody's like skating on ice. So I'm glad to kind of feel some weight to your character.
I agree. Like I like wall bounce. I think that's pretty obvious by this point. But I'm glad it feels a little bit heavier and slowed down. The only thing I don't like is the delays. Now, this is something that I have quite heatedly I've discussed with a few people, and they seem to be under the misinterpretation that I like to just spam A and randomly shoot all over the place, which I don't. Now, I don't know if you've seen it, but I actually put a little 2v2 clip on Twitter yesterday, and I did 2 slides in that, which that's not spamming A. I clearly put thought into what I was doing, and this change would stop that working for no reason, and that's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see a restriction on something that doesn't need to be restricted. I understand that it was being added to prevent the air back A, and I get it. The air back A, it is way too fast, but as much as I don't see how else they could, quote, fix that, I also don't think that this change would be beneficial for the overall game. I think you'd be fixing one thing and breaking 10 other.
Yep.
Is there anything else on the tuning that we want to hit on, or should we move on to the last topic here?
No, so I made a lot of notes, and I tried to just condense it all down into one rather than talking for like 3 hours by myself. Actually, yes, it's just an idea towards the Lancer. I'd like to see the rate of fire reduced. I'd also I can't believe how different this is, given that I used to want the Lancer nerfed. I think there's some situations where the Lancer isn't useful enough, and I think rather than just giving it a blatant damage increase again, because that's not what's needed, I'd like to see the bloom reduced slightly so it can be a little bit more accurate at long range. Nothing major, just a slight decrease, sorry, of the bloom.
Being we
That's pretty.
don't have the hammer burst as a loadout weapon anymore, maybe it would make sense to increase the accuracy a bit of the lancer.
Not much, like really not much, but just a slight bit, so it's better at range.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Even as a keyboard and mouse player, like I'm like, oh Jesus, like
Yeah.
I can tap all day long, but still it becomes kind of a little crazy at long range. When I was playing the dev tuning against Michael Shannon, of course, and he was using it, and he was testing it just as we were, and we were giving feedback, and it was like, yeah, just at long range, no, medium range, yeah, that was fine, but once you got into that long range period, it was almost useless in my opinion.
With that, I think it depends on your interpretation of what long and mid range is. Because personally, I think it should be good in mid range, but not at long range because it's not a long range weapon. But in my opinion, it's not quite good enough at mid range. So I think we've just got different ideas of what mid range and long range is. I think that with feedback, it's hard to really get across a TC. But the way I see it, mid range, it needs to be a little bit more accurate. But that's my perspective of mid range.
That's fair. It's something that you would have to visually see to compare and contrast, make sure everybody. Yeah.
But other than that, actually, I'm looking at my notes now. I know I said I was done, but I've got one other thing. Okay. Sorry. It's not so much this tuning, but it's cover in general. And I've been saying this for a very long time. Think back to other games. When you took cover, generally you'd slide to the corner of it, and you'd be able to transition into a cover swap, a back A, up A, or whatever. On Gears 5, you slide into cover, and you're not quite on the corner. You've got the shimmy along the cover, and then you can do it, which I feel, even though it takes, 0.2 of a second as a guess, I feel that's why a lot of people feel like they stick to cover, because of where you take cover. I remember not so long ago, I tested the exact same button inputs and controller inputs between Gears 4 and 5 on the exact same cover on the same map, and it just did completely different things. I'd like to see it so you didn't take cover in the center of the cover to stop getting stuck. I think if they're going to look at tunes for cover, it'd be that.
I actually don't know.
That's just something that come into my head, yeah.
Yep.
Other than that, I promise I'm done now.
All right. Well, with that then, let's transition into. We'll try and make this somewhat quick, but it's back to the PvE stuff. We're gonna hit on the daily, weekly challenge type thing, and then also it sort of bleeds into what's the future of PvE for Gears 5, which I know Neon would love to talk about. So to start off, I'll say I haven't actually played any of the weekly or daily stuff, but it looks cool. I mean, it seems like a really nice system.
Yeah, I think the challenges in both Escape and Horde are probably the most overlooked aspect of the update to me. They're especially in Horde, they add each day there's a new map and there's mutators, and they're different. Like there's a bunch that are pretty extreme, and then there's usually one or two that actually help you, like double headshot damage or something like that. And they really add a lot of variety to Horde that's really been missing. They're great. And also the rewards, like when they showed the dev stream in the first day or so, it was like class XP and a little bit of Gears coins, and now you get extra cards, you get guaranteed legendary cards. That's and what I was told is that's also random too. So
yes, it is.
Yeah, it adds a ton of variety to Horde, and there's some really, really interesting mutators. Like the one today is the power drain is fortifications cost 10 times more. So yeah, that's going to be really, because I loaded it up before I got in the group call, and the like a simple barrier costs 20,000 power to build. So yeah, so I got my work cut out for me this afternoon on that one.
Yeah.
It is very overlooked, but it also spells some truth as to what to expect. So I'll just say in terms of the PvE stuff is that the way that they set up the featured and daily events is truly just a very smart idea. So the way that it works is for featured hives in particular, you get CXP, which is also known as class XP bonuses. I'll leave it there because I don't want to give away too much on some other flaws with that system. But in terms of the daily challenges, it can be Gears coins, which is another way to earn Gears coins and increase your currency there. And then you could also earn skill cards, which we all know skill cards are hard to come by. So the higher the difficulty you complete, the better ranking cards you get. Those legendary cards, there's a few new legendary cards that were added that are pretty cool. Like, for example, if you play as the Blade Master class and you're a high level, you have a much higher chance of getting the new legendary card that I think you get at level 19 or 20. I can't remember off the top of my head. Which adds like 50% damage increase for a certain amount of time if you melee kill or bleed out an enemy, which that's a lot of damage increase for a melee focused character.
Yeah.
Especially like Alani, where you could be throwing up Electro Blade every couple seconds if there's no mutator that's against your ultimate recharge. So PvE had some great changes, and I'm not going to go further until we move into that topic, but that also spells the truth of what's probably to come. So
Yeah.
I think this is the last big pass, though.
Yeah. The only real thing I have to say about it is it's really unfortunate that Horde and Escape are not set up to allow those fun, neutral, or easy modifiers for private matches. Outside of the predetermined challenge type things. And I don't think that's going to change. It's just the game was not set up in a way that really allows users to be able to pick stuff like that.
Yeah, that is a big shame. Because there's a potential for a lot of variety with that. Because just seeing the mutators they've shown since Tuesday, like there's a lot of really good ones in there. But
I mean, that's what Gears 3 had, right? And people loved it.
Yep.
Don't know why they went away from it.
Yeah,
and they're trying to bring it back. It looks like, but they're just limited to the technical abilities. But one thing in terms of mutators that for the big PvE people that will watch this, whether it's on YouTube or currently, there's issues, and we haven't talked about it, and I'm not trying to elaborate on it. I just want to put it out there for knowledge. Is as of the time that we are doing this, you can't play certain characters in PvE, such as Sam, Jimbot, and I think there's one other. I could be wrong. They're not
DB or something.
DB.
Anyway,
the DB. So you can't play those characters. And of course, in a future title update, the next title update that comes out, you're going to be able to do that.
Which
and the
will be
Iron
December,
Man,
I think.
Yep, most likely December. And the Iron Man mutator in that title update as well is going to be addressed to where if you're playing Escape and you die, you don't have to go all the way back to the main menu, then you don't have to watch the Escape intro. You're going to just start right back where you're in the potted area. So like these are good. That is a great quality of life change to have that mutator finally addressed, because it was kind of just like really stupid. You would spend hours in total trying to load back into a hive, for example. So changes like that are great.
the only thing that really was missing with the update with me was scrapping duplicate cards. That was that would be a nice thing that is missing right now. It just feels like a miss, just because it was in Gears 4. That's the main thing that I'm like, why isn't it? And I get it. They originally, I guess it was going to be, if they did it, you would get scrap, and then they changed the Gears coins. Like, so what's the balance? If you're running these dailies every day and you do have your characters maxed, you're going to get a ton of cards and almost unlimited Gears coins. But I just, it just feels like to me, I don't want to focus on a lot of negative, because there is a lot of good stuff here, but I feel like that was the biggest miss for me.
I think the negative goes into the next section, which is probably the future. So
that's another big negative too.
So they've set up this Horde and Escape challenge thing as sort of a self-sustaining. It's just, all right, RNG every day or every week. We're gonna have this new challenge with new modifiers and different rewards and stuff. They're not adding more escape hives. They're not adding new classes. It sounds like the future of PvE is probably maybe some fixing exploits or bugs, or maybe slight balance things. Maybe able to do something here or there. We'll have events coming up. But as far as significant changes, it sounds like we're done. Probably no new hives ever, unless there's some like special event where it's like, hey, we're doing a special PvE event and we're putting this hive in for it.
Yeah. Well, I'll kind of take a little bit of this, and Cheese, feel free to chime in where you feel like you want to get something out there. And this is very important to the franchise. And again, this is it's PvE. I don't play PvE. It doesn't apply to me, but things like these type of decisions do apply to PvP players because it helps determine the lifelong sustainability of the franchise or that particular game. And we're in this particular situation, it's Gears 5. And what does that mean for Gears 6? So I would assume the majority of you know that I made a video about how it was the death of PvE. And when I say that it was the death of PvE, I was in particular speaking about Gears 5, which maybe I didn't clarify that, but I thought it was kind of obvious. Because Gears 6 is not an announced title right now. So what led me to that is Cheese and I were talking in a Twitter DM just between the three individuals, and we were just having back and forth, and it just kind of dawned on me that as we were talking, like, this is really about the end of the road for PvE in this game. You mentioned that there's no new classes. Dana basically confirmed that via stream and Twitter, and basically saying, there's just no plans because they got 19 classes right now. They're not even able to touch like 3 of them because they're promotional. They don't know where to put them or what to balance with them yet. You have Michael Shannon working as a one-man army on PvE. It used to be...
Yeah.
Yep. Well, so tile-based... The tile-based system, which although did not affect Horde directly, it ended up being useful for Horde. We got a few of those maps that were nice, actually, additions that no one knew were coming. I felt like that was really nice. But the tile-based system is scrapped, and all these decisions go back to the summit. Again, how does PvE affect you? Well, here's a way that it affects PvP players, because now you're getting versus multiplayer maps. But the versus multiplayer maps now have to actually work for this Horde in particular, because you can't play escape and Horde maps or versus multiplayer maps. So no new tile maps means no new escapes, which means one of the most premier new modes that the game featured is dead after about 32 or 40 so hives 1 year after launch. While that is a lot of content that they released through tile-based maps, it just is not sustainable, which again alters where the game's headed. So your map builder that they promised for Versus and PvE dead. That's one feature scrap that they promised was going to happen. We did get a hive builder, but it's nowhere near as complex as we were hoping it to be. It didn't really amount to anything, and I don't really know many people that use it other than a few, and that's it. And for maybe some achievement grinding right now. So no new tiles, no new escape hives, which means only a focus on really Horde. So the daily challenges the daily challenges benefit the old tiles to go say, well, no one's going to run the surge 100% anymore. Now you can go get some extra skill cards and stuff, but you got to go play these old hives. And then they made it a feature to master 10 hives in Operation 5. Okay, so now go pick the 10 easiest that you want, or the dailies or featured ones, and go master it that way. So there's no new classes, no new tiles. Now you're using versus multiplayer maps. So does the map design going forward, does that affect the maps that we get? Are they not going to be as fun because you have to cater to the PvE crowd? I don't know. So you start adding a lot of these things together and one-man army. I just don't assume that Michael Shannon can truly develop maps, balance PvE, and introduce new features 100%. So I think, and you also have to look at it in terms of where are we in development of this game? You're 14 months away from launch.
Yep.
Most games I should say, don't see a lot of true updates outside of like Grand Theft Auto and those type of games. Usually after year 1, and then it gets even slower as you near year 2.
That was my thought, is like, PvE, this basically is the last hurrah for PvE, and we'll just get minor things maybe going
You're going to get
forward.
events.
But
You're gonna get events.
But
That's
think
it.
back to Gears 4. What did we get after year 1 for Gears 4? Nothing, right?
Yeah, I think they only added like the level
Drops.
6 cards and just the drops. Yeah, that was practically it.
That's a, so this is the difference that I was saying earlier. Is like, yeah, we're gonna get some balancing tweaks. I think Michael Shannon basically said that. Yeah, I'm open to feedback. I'll change a few things if something gets exploited or broken. I'll make those changes, but I'm not gonna change it just because fans are not happy with it. But if you start adding all these features together, basically we're at the very end. The mutators are a great thing. It does add some uniqueness to the franchise that's never been there in terms of like Horde. So I can see something like that evolving, but Escape was supposed to be the next step. And it was great. I think people actually gave it a try. It was actually really fun. It was challenging. But the way that the game played prior to Operation 5 made it kind of like, I don't want to do it because I can't play as multiple classes. So I have to go level up another class to level 18 or 16, 15 to be worth a damn. And then I have to go grind. So I do think that what they've done in this operation is a great overall concept to better ourselves as we move into a future Gears title. But as of where we are going forward, we have like everybody's got like the comments on the YouTube video are basically probably 50-50, maybe a little bit more 60-40, but people are like, no, PvE is not dead. PvE is not dead. We're going to get versus multiplayer maps. We're going to get that. And I'm like, but that does not fundamentally alter the way the game plays. And that's what PvE is about, is altering the way the game plays, because that's what balancing patches are. New classes change and alter the way the game plays. There's just none of that altering effect going forward. All mutators do that. It's a limited amount of time for mutators. Like you said, you can't go in a custom lobby and start selecting all the fun or bad mutators.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is there's more replay value than Gears 4. They're continuing to add maps past the point where they did for Gears 4. And this last operation just added this self-sustaining random challenge system. So if Horde didn't really die in Operation 4, I don't see a reason why, or in Gears 4, sorry. If Horde didn't really die there, I don't see why it would necessarily die out at all in Gears 5, Horde or Escape. It's in a better place than it was in Gears 4 in terms of the amount of content and the amount of replayability, as well as they now have this challenge system which can keep people coming back.
I know I don't play PvE at all. I just wanted to say something. I haven't really enjoyed Horde since Gears 2. But Gears 2, I loved Horde. I don't know what they could add. As someone who doesn't play PvE like you guys do, but
Yep.
I don't know what they could add, because for me, I enjoyed the simplicity of Gears 2, where you had absolutely nothing. You found a boom shield off an enemy, you plant that, and that was your defense, and you had your weapons, you had the map. And I spent so long doing that. I had so much fun on that. So my question would be, I'm listening to you guys. What would you say would boost PvE? Like, what would you like to see? Like, other than like a new map, which eventually you'll get tired of anyway. Other than a new map, what would you like to see like massively changed for you to say, okay, this is a great update?
The biggest thing is what we've talked about with enabling the mutators in Horde, like having total control over how you play your game.
I believe you could do that in Gears 3, though, could you not?
You could do that in
You do in Gears 3, yeah.
Yeah.
You have all the escape mutators, the mutators they've come out with the past week. I'm sure there's even more coming. Like you having all of those at your disposal to set your custom match however you want. Like, to me, that just gives like the ultimate variety and replayability. Because you're going to get tired of a map. I'm tired of Overload because every lobby was that until Tuesday.
That's what.
So that to me, that would bring the replayability. That would bring Horde to a new light. And like Escape, I hate it because you went from having a new hive every single week, and when the game launched, and I knew they couldn't sustain that, and then it went to every other week, then it went to every third week, and now it's done. That's it. And to me, it's like it. But before, I guess during Operation 3 and 4, if you went into the custom lobbies, most of it was achievement, people farming achievements, XP, challenges, stuff like that. And yeah, these daily and weekly challenges are great. I'm not taking anything away from it. They're great, but how long can that really last? Is that going to last 15 weeks of this operation, or people are going to log into Escape and go, okay, let me get my daily done, and then that's it. They're done with Escape. Like
That will happen.
yeah,
So
and
that
I mean, that's to me, that's the big
So-
thing to what Neon's talking about.
yeah, and that's where I come in and say, okay, where are they going to go from here? In Gears 5, I'm not really caring about Gears 6 because again, it's not developed. It's not, or
They
maybe
can't
it's in
talk about
development, but we can't talk about it, or we don't know if it's actually it's not an announced title. So therefore, in my opinion, right now
It's
it does not
future
exist. Yeah, it's future
Yeah.
content. Don't talk
Right.
about that. But
That's
but
right.
where do you go from here? You get to level 20. Great. You farm cards, you get maxed out, you keep doing it. What's the incentive to keep playing it? Is it just because it's fun? There's nothing to chase? Is there more rewards coming, or are there re-ups coming to PvE, for example? Like, what could things like that be implemented to make people want to keep logging in daily? And that's where I was kind of getting to, is like Gears Operation 4 was PvP focused. They said that in the blog post. Here, Operation 5 was more PvE focused. Okay, great. But new maps will only make you want to play the map a couple times. And what if it doesn't play well and it's not fun to play? Then that doesn't apply to you as a player. It's not enjoyable for the long-term success of the mode. And so I think that's why I was like, well, if you start adding all these details up, it's done and over, because I don't know where they're going to go from here. But to your point and your question, I've said that I would like to see them do something a little bit more tower defense wise, or a little bit more unique in terms of, okay, if we're not going to expand on escape because we can't go on a go forward basis, why don't we add some type of uniqueness where right now you have the freedom to go anywhere on a horde map and just set up wherever you want. They tried to limit your potential with energy taps, but I think that it didn't go the way that they had hoped it to be.
Yeah.
So why not implement ideas of restrictions? Imagine a cone on a map, and you cannot go past that cone. And anything that comes at you, they can go through it and they can kill you, or start building like perches, like like sniper towers and like some unique tower defense style elements from those type of games. They could also go into the route, and again, this is probably a technical limitation right now, and it'd probably be a completely new mode. Fortnite Save the World is PvE focused, and it's kind of open map based with challenges. Maybe you can do something like that.
So I think I know the two things that would save it, basically. One is, as Cheese mentioned, the mutators. I think that would be huge. The other one, though, is something that they wanted to do, but they weren't able to do it, and that is tile-based maps or hives have one come out every week, procedurally generated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Procedurally generated
that
content.
would be that would be massive. And
if there was a technical limitation and ability to do so, I would love that.
If they could procedurally generate a hive every week,
that would
that
be
would
awesome.
basically save escape. Basically,
I agree.
Can I have a possible third option? That it kind of goes back to something we talked about near the start of the stream as well. The Tour of Duty and the challenges. As PvE players, would you agree with this? If they had something ridiculously grindy, I can't even think of an example because I don't play it, but it took you a long time to get, and there was a benefit. Excuse me. There's a benefit to having those level 20 cards, make it a little bit easier for you. Would you then feel that if you had something crazy to work for that took a long time to work for, that it'd be worth playing? Because that way, that'd be the only way to get that reward, and it'd take you a long time. There's your incentive, and there's still something there. It's not finished, and you've not maxed it. Does that make sense?
well, so you have to find that balance of it can't be too hard that people aren't going to go for it, but it needs to be hard enough that it will take dedicated people a while to get. But then you run into the issue of, okay, I got this. Now what?
Yeah, that's the thing with chase items like that, is once you reach that milestone, you want the next one, and that's the thing that Gears fails to do.
I think I'm more thinking in terms of Seriously 2.0 and Seriously 3.0. They were very grindy, and then when you got it, you had this emblem or skin or whatever you got, to be like, I've put this much time into it. It wasn't necessarily hard, but I've invested that much time into that one thing, and I've got that. Do you think, as PvE players, that if you had something unique that only you guys would get if you clearly put a lot of time into it, let's say, I don't know, 500,000 kills, completely stupid example, I don't know, but let's say that was your massively long-term goal and you got that, do you think that would keep you playing, or would it not bring you back to it? Would it not be worth it?
I would do it.
I would
'cause
definitely do it.
I would do it
Yeah,
just
Okay.
because it's unique.
I think a lot of
Yeah,
people
that-
would do it, but then once they get it, that's the
That'd
issue.
be it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be it.
I think that's where you find the balance, because what is that? It's going to take too long now. Because back in the day, you look at it, seriously, 1, 2, and 3. They took a very, very long time to get. And when you first looked at the achievements, you're like, "What? I'm not doing that." But then eventually, you did get it, and you think, "Okay, I didn't necessarily grind for it, but just regular playing. I've got that now. That's cool."
Well, so I'll use Seriously 1 as a great example of this, and that was that chase thing that everyone wanted, and people went for that, and they kept playing the game, and they were learning the game, and they started to enjoy the game as they were going for that. And once they got it, a lot of people kept playing the game because they enjoyed the game at that point.
Yeah.
With Gears
I
5,
can attest to that.
yeah, with Gears 5, I kind of question, like, would people feel that same way? Would they put in that grind and get this thing and be like, oh, okay, I really enjoy this game now. I'm just going to keep playing it for fun.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I
Probably
feel like
not.
the community now has this mindset of, I need to be going after something. I'm not just playing for fun anymore. If I'm not actively working to achieve something, I'm wasting my time. I think that's the community's mindset now.
But I would also say that the community mind is probably from as it originates from other games as well. A lot of games are moving into that as a way to keep people playing the game daily and day in, day out. And Gears has to find a way to truly implement such a process in order to compete with those games, so they're not taking players away from their game. So
yeah,
and see, that's the thing you have to remember is that I don't know the exact numbers because TC would never say it, but I would think the Horde had a very healthy community and still has a pretty big player base, and
it's
gone
up.
Yeah, you told me that it's likely gone up since Op4 and now Op5, obviously, and it's like that's with the total lack of events. Just imagine if we had regular events bringing more people in, and now that they've decoupled the classes and characters, I'm sure more people are going to pick it up and play it now. I've said this it feels like I've said it a million times, is to keep people coming back, you got to have those events. And they had one that Michael admitted they kind of unlocked early, which was a classic Horde, which I'm really curious to see, like, what rewards and stuff. Like, it'd be real cool if they have like these heroic skins that are rewards for hitting on master. You obviously can't give class XP or cards because it's classic Horde, but I'm curious to see if there's more of these coming and what the rewards, if there are chase items for doing them, and hopefully that they're regularly released.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Neon's idea of the tower defense, because even as a non-PV player, I probably would play that and enjoy it. I like that idea.
Yeah, and I was hoping they would bring in new fortifications and stuff. There was a talk of that, but you still have...
There's concepts that they had that they developed that they felt like just didn't work, and so they couldn't implement them. But I mean, they just need to pull some ideas from other games. Escape was a great one, but like said earlier, it needs some adjustment in order to release it weekly. But there's ways to expand on PvE as they move into Gear 6, assuming open worldness is truly open world. Maybe they can implement it there. We no one knows what's happening behind the scenes except the developers, but here's our ideas if we're limited to what we have now. But ultimately it was a great pass. And when I say it's the death, I mean it's just the death for Gears 5, because the writing's on the wall that Escape is done. That was half of PvE, and I don't really suspect any major things to come in terms of classes or whatever else that will truly alter the way the game plays, because a new class can change the whole game. And so, but you'll get balancing patches, you'll get your updates, but that's kind of to be expected based off what that was said from Michael Shannon. So, and then we'll get some custom feature lobbies eventually. So, right now it's a technical feature that they can't enable it. But yeah.
Can I just respond to Nicholas in chat quick?
Yeah, I just read that too.
A lot of people have wanted this, and we've actually had it before on Judgment. If you think back to that,
Overrun.
what was it called? Overrun. Yeah, a lot of people do like that. Personally, I wasn't a fan, but it was a good mode. Yeah,
I thought it was great.
It was a very good mode. I just didn't enjoy it. That was just my preference thing, but it was a good thing. I think it could work.
Well, the other thing people are looking for as well is, I actually haven't played Destiny 2 at all, but I think it was Gambit or something like that. It was a PvP mode that had PvE, like it had AI on the map.
You spawn in on the map, both teams do, and you fight AI and basically, and then after you have to deposit. I'm not going to get into all the details, but you have to each AI enemy you kill drops motes of light. You deposit motes in the bank, and once you hit a certain threshold, players on the other team can invade your side and kill you, and it kind of resets your progress. So it kind of brings an element to it, a PvP element to it.
But yeah, I think
it's
cool.
A fun mode. That's a blast.
I think Overrun was a blast. I think it was balanced really well. I think it was a cool mechanic. So I would love to see something like that, or something like Gambit, or whatever other mode. I think combining PvE and PvP could be cool.
Yeah. I did not care for Overrun, personally. I did not like it. I hated it. I still have those missing achievements. But I went back and played Judgment a couple months ago. And of course, I can't do that because I need Phoenix Collection in my life. Sorry.
I knew it was going to get wrong.
But so remind me, what was the other mode where you had the generator?
Survival.
Yeah, survival.
I would like survival back. That is a mode that would be fun to play. In current Gears with all the new changes and things that they've added, I feel like that would be fun, and they could probably do something like that.
It failed in Judgment simply due to the fact that was a Horde replacement.
Yes, and not an original Horde.
Not a supplement. Not a supplement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was only like 10 waves, I think. Something like that.
I think it failed in Judgment because it was Judgment, and most Gears players didn't see it as a Gears game, and they just went back to Gears 3. I think if it was in a, quote, proper Gears game, I think it would have done a lot better.
Yeah, I would like to see that mode come back. I think that was a cool mode, and then you can add some unique twist to it as well.
Cool idea.
Yeah, with the classes we have now, that it would really be integrated very well into survival.
Yeah.
So that's tower defense. So yeah.
I'm actually surprised I've actually got involved with PvE talk. I'm happy with that.
No, you have good, and that's the cool thing about it is like just because you play PvP, like that's why I said earlier at the stream is people know me as a PvE player because I made tutorials and like guides of how to do certain things, but I can go play PvP if you want me to. Like there's no shame in being able to play both modes because I love the game, and that's what we all should be striving for. Is if one mode sucks or one part of the franchise sucks, one pillar of the franchise sucks, it needs to be brought up to speed so that way there's more replayability. And then those people like myself, if I want to play Versus, I'll play Versus. If I don't, I'll go hang out and play in PvE, whatever I feel like doing that day.
And I mean, the other big thing is like Cheese, you're a PvE player. Regardless of whether you intend to or not, you probably get sucked into viewing things a certain way because you play PvE. And Livo can come from an outside perspective and be like, oh, well, what about this? And it could be something from just a completely different perspective. And I think it makes for wonderful conversation. And
definitely.
Paul, that's when you first DM'd me and you're like, yeah, just so you know, I'm a PvE player or PvP player, so I won't be able to be involved much in PvE. I was like, no, that's a good thing.
Oh, okay.
No, that's good. You need to that's important because like for me, I will tell you, and I think I've said this. I don't think I've ever said it on stream. In Gears, you said that you loved Gears 2 PvE. No, I'd rather fall asleep than play that. Gears 3, I'd rather fall asleep. Gears 4, I'd rather fall asleep. But then in Gears 5, the way that they did it, while I don't like the way that it was initially set up with the limitations and everything like that, the way that it progressed since then, I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is fun. This is fun. And now I take it a little bit more seriously and I get more involved with it because I was like, okay, I like the evolution of it. Whereas PvP, as me, when I grew up, I was high school, like, oh, I'm gonna mess you up, I'm gonna headshot you, I'm gonna dome you, I'm Superman you, I'm gonna blind fire you. That's just who my life. That's what my life was. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? I know how to play the game. I know how to play PvP. I may not know every single technical aspect of it like I used to know it, because the game doesn't play the same because it's evolved. But I've evolved as a person to where, like, you know, I don't want to be like in here wearing my MLG sweatband, sweating every 5 seconds in a ranked match anymore. I want to go chill out, you know. So it's good to have the conversation where you have people like yourself or someone like or myself that feels kind of diversified in a little bit, but and not an expert in any of it, and then have someone like Cheese who's like gung ho that knows it by the back of his hand, you know. So there's people like it's good to have the balance of all of us together. And then you got someone like Chaps who said, like, I play when I can and I don't get into it like I used to. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say, and then here's what I used to feel. So having conversations like this, and that's why I love being on these panels and to get to listen to it, is because of the fact, yes, I'm still sweaty. I will admit that.
Really, really.
Neon sweaty.
I was, yeah. So, you know, like, you know, just being able to just be on the panels and have these kind of communications, it's, you don't want to just get sucked into brain like a non-think tank. You want to have people that have different opinions and aspects and views on something, and that's where when you mix PvP and PvE together, you can make something great. Or maybe a PvE fan doesn't know something about PvP and then they learn it. It's just good to have that interaction with other individuals, because that you get so siloed in life. And I don't mean that just in life, but I mean through social media and stuff like that, where you just get to be around like-minded people. But this kind of pushes you to think outside your box of comfortability and like, man, you know, maybe I'll go try that because I never thought I would. But they made it sound fun.
Yeah.
And that's what is awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we've been going for close to 2.5 hours now. This has been a really
our
long
prediction was wrong.
Yeah, my prediction
worth it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we're going to go into another round the room for closing comments. And being Operation 5 just came out, well, as usual, we'll say like where people can find you online and stuff, which I'll have all of your links in the description as usual. But the thing I want to do with Operation 5 is, what is your favorite thing that has come out of Operation 5? But also, what is your least favorite, or what is the worst thing to come out of Operation 5? So let's just go around the room again. Cheese, we'll start with you.
Definitely my favorite thing is the daily challenges with Horde and Escape. Definitely Horde with the different mutators and bringing to more variety and interesting rewards. It being random, and I really like that. I log in every day and check out the new Horde map, or not the new Horde map, but the new challenge and how I'm going to tackle it and everything. And so really it's changed up a lot of stuff for me in Horde. The thing I dislike the most is the no new hives coming. And that's not for Operation 5, that's for probably the remainder of the game. And that to me really sucks, because that means a big mode that I used to play really liked. It really kind of saved me, because when the game first launched, I didn't play the campaign. There was too many bugs. Horde, I was kind of overwhelmed at first, and Versus was a mess, and Escape kind of really they were releasing new map every week, and that really kind of kept me playing the game. And now that part's pretty much gone. So that to me is the biggest thing. And so you can find me on Twitter at CheeseCutta. Anything you want to talk PvE, I'll talk about it with Horde and everything else. So that's pretty much all I got.
All right, Neon?
Yeah. So I feel like my favorite thing is actually more the balance pass for PvE, since this is what the whole operation was centric on, or centralized on, was all PvE for the most part. So I feel like I'm really enjoying that. However, I will caveat a 1A and 1B. 1A being the map Nexus. I'm glad that we got that map, just because it's overall an enjoyable map across the board. And then 1B is the potential dev tuning. I really would like to see that, because I think it would make it more enjoyable for someone like myself to go play. So those are my 1A, and 1B favorite things. My least favorite thing is definitely the fact that what we just spent some time talking about is I'm just reading between the lines, and again, people can agree or disagree, but Escape being dead sucks because it was the only solid foundation that we had for the majority of the first 6 to 7 months of the franchise of Gears 5 being stable. And of course the potential going forward, not much updates because it's probably towards the end of the life cycle of the game, but it feels like it's the rebirth based off the marketing. But I don't understand. I don't see how this game can be in development longer than 2 to 3 years, and so I feel like that's kind of where we are on there. And of course, you can find me on Twitter. I'm heavy there. Handle is below my image. My ESPN shirt is below that, so you can find my handle there. And I've been streaming a lot more on Twitch. I've been doing a lot of competitive ranked matches. When I say the word competitive, I should say ranked. And I plan to do more PvE stuff soon once I finish the versus grind. And then, of course, you can find me on YouTube where I post a lot of my videos there. So I'm a little bit all over. I'm a master of none of those places.
There you go.
All right, Paul.
I feel like my answer is so short compared to you guys. Well, this update didn't really change much for PvP, especially as we haven't got a dev tuning yet. So my answer is quite short. I think I've got 2 best things. One definitely has to be Nexus, because they've definitely listened to the community in terms of dark and gritty. I love that. The other thing, I think it's not so much Operation 5, but 2020 in general. Just how amazing TC have changed it around. I am impressed the way they've gone from being absolutely horrendous at launch and being a meme to actually being respected. I'm so happy with that.
Oops.
As for the worst thing, gridlock. That's where that ends. Gridlock. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, gridlock.
I just haven't played it yet. I haven't even loaded into it yet.
Lucky you, don't.
That's why I'm like, oh yeah, everything's great.
Yeah, we didn't talk about those maps, but I'll say it real quick. I love Clock Tower. Clock Tower is one of my favorite Gears maps. I absolutely hate gridlock. I can't stand it. Anyway, I just had to get that out.
No, I think it's a good.
I'm sorry. I can't take gridlock.
Yeah.
I want to actually add something, Chaps, if you don't mind. And I just want a quick like yes or no, or how many more do you think? If you don't mind, is just say a number off the top of your head, and I'll say mine. How many new maps do you guys truly think that we're gonna get from here on out? Like, how many maps do you think we'll get before the end of development? And before we end, I know that we said conclusions, but I'm sorry, they said we're focusing on versus multiplayer maps. We just got 5 of them. How many more do you think we get going forward?
I think it's hard to answer without knowing like when they plan, if they plan.
That's the speculation part. How much do you feel? Just pick a number. Don't think hard about it. Just pick a number.
I think 4 or 5.
Are we saying new or
total? Just total maps that are not in Gears 5 now. Right now,
8?
I'll say 6.
I think either 4 or 5.
I actually say 8. But I think a few of those are going to be from old games, though. I can't see us getting that many brand new.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we were talking brand new, I'd say we'll probably get 2 more brand new ones, and that's it.
Yeah, I was thinking 2 or 3 brand new ones.
I just was curious around the room, like just one of those, like, hey, quick, hot question type things. Like, what do you think is going to happen? It's not something that you would think about. It's not something that we would think about because we're not in development. But sorry, I know that threw that off, but I just had to add that question because it was something I wanted to ask earlier.
You think 10 more, Nicholas? Oh,
jeez.
It's a new game over here.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I think we'll get a lot of remakes, but I think that we can get up to 8 or 10 maps most, and that includes something for free for all. But that's the end of that. We can go to the final conclusion from Chaps now.
Yeah. So let's see. My best thing about Operation 5, it might not be fair to put it all here, but I would just say Michael. Like, Nexus and River are largely due to him. PvE updates largely due to him. Like, if I had to pick one thing, I would either say Nexus or River. Like, both of those maps just play fantastically. But yeah, I mean, Michael showing that he really cares and that he understands fans has been amazing.
Yes.
Least favorite thing, Honestly, for me personally, it's probably going to be the store and tour type thing. How those haven't really changed at all. I think that there's room for improvement, and those aren't like huge downsides. So my negative is the store and tour of duty, which, like, if that's my downside of this operation was a pretty big success, I think.
Neil.
Agreed.
Alrighty, well, there you have it. It's been a pretty long discussion today. It's been a great discussion. Thanks for joining on the panel. Thanks for everyone watching either live or on YouTube. And we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for the invite.
Hey,
Bye.
everyone.